very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to all of you to the first day of fourth edition of TechMunch 2020, India's biggest digital conference, a platform that brings together the advertising, marketing, and media fraternity of the country to discuss digital. TechMunch is followed by the 11th edition of IDMA, which is Indian Digital Marketing Awards 2020. My name is Khyati Kawa, and I'm going to be your host for the day. Ladies and gentlemen, TechMunch is presented by the Exchange for Media Group that was set up in the year 2000, and today is one-stop information platform for the entire industry: news, views, analytical information, in-depth analysis of events or trend forecasting. And the heartening part for the team at Exchange for Media is that our publications have a loyal following. Ladies and gentlemen, before we move forward, I'd like to show you the audiovisual, the journey of Exchange for Media.
Exchange for Media, a name synonymous with the latest news about the advertising industry in India. The Exchange for Media Group, set up in 2000, has the most credible media platforms covering the entire advertising, media and marketing domain with its highly acclaimed digital, print and on-ground assets. The group's flagship news portal, exchangeformedia.com, reaches over 6 lakh subscribers who are the first to receive breaking news in the industry. The buzzing website not only covers the news but goes beyond the obvious to bring in a fresh point of view. Impact, the weekly news magazine from the group, is the most widely read business magazine in the advertising trade, with in-depth analysis and news-based features providing perspective to key happenings in the industry. The monthly Pitch magazine provides a ringside view of events unfolding in the marketing landscape, along with media and advertising. Another monthly magazine, Realty Plus, is a market leader in reportage on the real estate industry. Today, Exchange for Media is not only a leading publisher in the domain, but owns the IP of more than 50 events spread across Mumbai, Delhi and Bangalore, making it a powerhouse of information and knowledge sharing. Exchange for Media has curated and launched some of the most successful IPs across marketing, digital, TV, print, radio, mobile, OOH and PR. The Impact Person of the Year, Exchange for Media Conclave, Indian Digital Marketing Awards, TechMunch, Pitch CMO Summit, India Marketing Awards, Primetime Awards, Indian Content Marketing Awards, Golden Mics, NBAR are some of the group's top-notch events, in addition to niche, bespoke events and roundtables curated especially for discerning clients. Exchange for Media events attract stalwarts as speakers, along with a loyal audience comprising of leaders, trendsetters and opinion makers. They are the perfect networking platform for the entire media and advertising industry. No wonder Exchange for Media Group publications and events have high credibility and reach, and are the destination of choice for agency, brand and media professionals across the industry. Exchange for Media.
Wow, that is Exchange for Media, 2 decades strong with 50 IPs in its kitty. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have the journey or the legacy of BW that we'd like to showcase here. Let's take a look.
BW Business World presents a rich legacy of curated events that enable conversations on policy issues in India.
Because of the state of our cities, we have no option but to build smart and resilient cities.
Digital India is more for the poor, underprivileged and the deprived.
Covering a range of topics, BW Business World events look to create a strong narrative around smart cities, digital India, healthcare, Swachh Bharat, human resource issues, education, banking and finance, among others.
The world is fast changing. Best practices are available now on the net.
Because
डेवलपमेंट पूरी राजनीति में ये फोकस बन गया है.
BW Business World events provide a speaking platform to the voices that matter.
स्मार्ट से ताल्लुक ये है कि हम जो बेसिक एमिनिटीज़ हैं उसको हम चुस्त दुरुस्त करें.
You don't have to be a technologist. You need to understand how technology influences the world.
Mahatma Gandhi was a great man. He was the leader of the freedom struggle.
We believe that e-governance and IoT will play a very, very important role.
BW Business World is an excellent exhibition platform that helps you showcase your services to the right audience. To be a part of our legacy, write into us at partner@businessworld.in.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, with that, once again, I'm Khyati Kawa, welcoming all of you to this fourth edition of TechMunch 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, TechMunch is a platform which was co-created, and ladies and gentlemen, it was a platform for this very time, this era where all of the digital world is happening right here in front of your eyes. And ladies and gentlemen, TechMunch focuses on leapfrogging the digital marketing industry through small but defined steps. With the presence of a slew of top-ranking global influencers, panel of luminaries, and knowledge workshops by experts, TechMunch promises to give you an unmatched perspective into the world of digital marketing. And now, without further ado, let me welcome the gentleman who steers entire events in the Exchange for Media Group and BW Business World, and also happens to be celebrating his birthday today. So, a very warm welcome to Dr. Anurag Batra, Chairman and Editor-in-Chief, BW Business World and Exchange for Media, to join me on the screen, and a very happy birthday to you, sir.
Thank you for being very kind, but please don't embarrass me by, I know you're being kind. Good afternoon. It's my honor and privilege to welcome you to TechMunch. TechMunch is a conference to contextualize what's happening in the digital advertising, digital marketing space. How is digital growing? We started the Indian Digital Media Awards, Marketing Awards, 9 years back. So tomorrow evening is the IDMA. So TechMunch happens to contextualize the trends that are happening in digital marketing. So to say, the digital marketing insights captured over 2 days. And the best practices that win tomorrow in some way are being articulated by the leaders. Mr. Amit Singla was also the part of the jury of the IDMA. He's our keynote speaker, and you listen to him. He's a practitioner, and he's built a business and a brand, and he's been at the company more than 3 decades. So really, he will talk to you. He's seen the journey from physical to digital to now phygital. So I'm sure he'll talk to you about that. But let me quickly give you my inputs on both as somebody who studies advertising, marketing, media. I'm a student of marketing, plus somebody who runs Business World and interacts with business leaders. Let me share with you where I see it is going. First of all, I believe Amazon in 2020 will become a significant part of marketers and advertisers discussion. And now I know Amazon is not a sponsor of our event, so I want to say to you, because point I'm trying to make is Alexa, voice searches will go up. And if you look at 2019 was a phenomenal year. Of course, we are meeting in the backdrop of COVID, and last 5 months have been transformative in a very different way. But really, COVID and what has happened in 2020 has energized Amazon. Amazon continues to go from strength to strength, whether it's Prime Day or it's highly successful back to school sessions. Brands are coming onto Amazon and kind of looking at Amazon in every platform which has data. Let me make it larger and say any platform that has data. And basically, this trend will get accentuated. Now, search remains strong and flexes its Gen Z muscle or millennials. Today we need anything, we still search. Now, the millennial audience is the audience that the marketers want to reach. In India, in the last 5 months, most millennials have been online. It's become easier. And research shows that university students are truly the smartphone generation, all students. Third is, despite the social controversies that surround Instagram sometimes, uh, Instagram remains Facebook's secret weapon. Fourth, uh, last 5 months it made sure e-commerce has become even more center stage, right from ordering our meals to ordering our essentials to ordering that gadget that we needed. There has been a meteoric rise in e-commerce advertising in the last 5 months, and with IPL and the Diwali season coming, it will see another kind of step up on that. Also, 2020 possibly will see the visual and voice search take off, because right now it's a minuscule part of what searches are, but I think in the last 5 months it's had gone up. It will continue to accelerate. In the opportunity as speech recognition accuracy goes from 95% to 99%, we expect voice search especially to continue to see rapid growth in the second half of 2020. Also, as Google's SERP continues to evolve for a mobile world, 2020 second half will see more ad formats that incorporate a more robust visual offering than years in the past. The visual component has already seen an impact in shopping campaigns since Google expanded its showcase ads, and with 62% of millennials wanting visual search over any other new technology, it seems natural that using an image to start a search will become the norm in the next 12 to 18 months. I hope marketers are taking note of it. Sixth, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and digital advertising will get so intertwined in a way that we've never imagined. Seventh, digital video will continue to grow and will hit fast motion September onwards. Last 5 months have been a boom in digital video, so hence there will be a boom in digital video advertising. Also, traditionally we banged on CPC, CTR. Now those notions and how they play out, and in the context of what has happened in the last 5 months, they will continue to evolve. And again, sectoral ad targeting will improve. Last but not the least, CMOs will take ad fraud and fake news more seriously than they have taken. As the advertising on digital grows, as social commerce, digital commerce grows, you'll see there are losses that last year were projected at almost 6 billion due to ad fraud and fake views and news both. So you will see that 6 billion loss of advertising possibly will get minimized. I also want to make my last prediction that India over the next 3 months will in some way make up for the advertising that it lost in the last 5 months. Well, it will be interesting to see beyond November. 14th November is Diwali. Before that is IPL. So the next 3 months will be advertising heavy months. Brands that were on pause will come back. And most importantly, you'll see innovation in digital in a way that we've never seen before. Also, digital will lead the campaign, and television, advertising, everything else will follow. That is what I want to say. And over to you, Kathy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Batra. Like always, such amazing insights into it. And I can't wait for the image based search to begin. And ladies and gentlemen, what better platform to have this conversation about the growth of digital than being at TechMunch, the digital virtual conference. Now, let's move on to our first keynote speaker of the day. He's currently working as the managing director and CEO for Asian Paints, overlooking a business of more than 18,000 crores in India. He has been responsible for propelling the Asian Paints brand into a league of its own and has initiated a lot of new initiatives to grow the business over the last decade. Amit is closely associated with color and is the so called game changer for bringing color into the Asian Paint strategy. He's also a member of the Color Marketing Group USA and a keen member of the Asian Paints Color Next Trends Group. He will be speaking on the topic navigating uncertainty through marketing and digital transformations. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together, send in those emoticons, and let's welcome Mr. Amit Singhal, Managing Director and CEO, Asian Paints. A very warm welcome, sir.
Thank you, Khyati, for inviting me here, and grateful to the entire team from Exchange for Media, Anurag for uh, inviting me here and making me the keynote speaker today. First of all, I heard the predictions made by Anurag, and I keep on hoping that someone makes the predictions about COVID as well in terms of how we go, because I think today in more than 80% of the sessions we kind of go to, I think the hot topic still is in terms of what's really happening around COVID and how do we see the kind of way ahead. I was there in terms of the Madison Pitch Media launch in terms of what the predictions were, and I think the great thing was to see that a lot of marketers, a lot of CMOs, and a lot of people who are steering the companies were still kind of optimistic in the current circumstances in terms of way the ad budgets would go, the way the scenarios would kind of pan out. And I think that's a strong feeling which kind of comes in that even when we are facing this pandemic, we see a lot of silver lining which people are able to kind of see. So today I'm going to kind of speak on the current environment and see how digital is making a very, very strong impact in terms of leading the way and really changing the scenario, and how as a brand, we've done some stuff which we were able to kind of leverage the whole digital interface far more strongly, especially when during this environment we see there are far more eyeballs coming on to the digital medium in one way or the other. So I would just share my screen to give you a view in terms of my presentation. Just give me a minute. I'm just getting the presentation out. It's just taking 2 minutes. I would like people to just bear with it. Just opening the presentation. So I think it's a fairly interesting way in terms of what we are looking in terms of how we would kind of like to see the environment going up, and how in these times there are some things which we have been doing. I hope everyone is able to see my screen at this point of time. And I thought it would be good to kind of just take you through some of the initiatives we have done in terms of looking at how we have navigated today in terms of looking at this challenging market. So I want to speak about some 10 areas which I feel are the key, and some things which possibly gives us an insight in terms of what we can do and how we can take this forward. The first thing is, I think there is no point in terms of fighting and saying that it's a doomsday in terms of going ahead. It's something which we need to kind of say that we need to embrace this uncertainty as we go ahead. Today, when we look at the environment, lockdown, unprecedented, these are words which are part of the vernacular now. Okay. And we don't see that there are too many things which are going to change in the immediate. And therefore, what we need to kind of see is that if this is the status and this is something which is going to stay for us, say for the next 6 months, how is it that we deal with this? Because I'm a believer that till the time that the vaccine comes in and the vaccine becomes slightly far more reachable, the scenario which is the current would exist. And all the curves which we keep on predicting, V curve, U curve, W curves, and S curves, I think that is very difficult to kind of predict in terms of what's going to happen. But I think what certainty is that such environment will continue, and within this environment, we will have to see how is it that we are able to kind of see the silver lining and do and really kind of galvanize the market in our own way. This crisis is unique, as we all know, because no one could have factored this thing happening in any kind of risk estimations and risk mitigation strategies. And therefore, we feel that this is obviously has led to a digital revolution by itself. Okay, so I think it has really brought the best, especially I think when we look at the whole digital way in terms of dealing with things, and it has really kind of got a lot of innovation, a lot of pioneering work in terms of what we are able to see around in terms of what's really happening. Today also what we see is that the buying behaviors, the customer segmentation, how we look at various cities, how we look at in terms of classifying certain cities, I think it's a whole new normal which is emerging. People habits are changing and will change. As we kind of look at today, today people are already kind of embracing, as Anurag also said, the whole bit in terms of everything coming at home. So whether it is Amazon, whether it is other marketplaces, or it is even something what we are kind of looking in terms of services at home, I think that's the new normal in terms of what is appearing, as people are kind of uncertain in terms of really stepping out in this kind of environment. So I think lots of things are changing, and today we are saying that especially brands which are there in the zone of discretionary, I think that is something which they will have to keep on thinking more innovation in terms of what they do, and our brand is one of that. And I think that's very, very important to kind of see that today in this new normal, how are we kind of going to embrace and see in terms of what we can do about this uncertainty as we go ahead. There is also the rising thing in terms of what's happening is about what is local. And combined with this, we feel that today the digital is really springing in very, very big ways. So whether it is the OTT channels which are emerging very strongly, or it is in terms of gaming which is there, we feel that the amount of time the eyeballs are glued in terms of any of the digital media, I think it is very, very important how we evoke and kind of really nurture digital in a big way as we kind of go ahead. The second thing which we look at in terms of going forward is in terms of saying that today you can't rely in terms of a standard marketing campaign. We need to be finally very, very dynamic in terms of what we are doing, because things are changing so fast. And if you are on various medias in terms of trying to get the customer, you need to keep on adjusting your marketing campaigns in a very big way. Some examples which I wanted to give is that, for example, the whole area when the lockdown happened really at a national level around 21st of March, okay, the whole March, April was all about empathy. And I think we really looked at, and we were one of the first brands who kind of in that environment looked at saying, okay, can we shoot something and can we show customers across various digital mediums in terms of what empathy really means? And I think the response was something which was phenomenal in terms of the amount of views, the amount of brand tonality scores which you kind of got was something which was amazing. And I would like to show something which we are very proud of, shot within a span of 4 days in various homes without any studio, without any sophisticated equipment, something which we were able to put on air very strongly in a very short time. Let's take a look.
हर घर चुपचाप से ये कहता है, अच्छा लगता है जब सब कोई अंदर रहता है। कोई मेरे कानों पर लगे जाले उतार रहा है, कोई जाली में जमी धूल निकाल रहा है, कोई मेरे पैरों तले लगी फिसलन हटा रहा है, कोई खुद को नहीं मुझको संवार रहा है, कोई शायद ये कह रहा है यहाँ न कोई चिंता न कोई डर है, आखिर ये मेरा ही तो घर है। हर घर चुपचाप से ये कहता है, अच्छा लगता है जब सब कोई अंदर रहता है। Stay home, stay safe, Asian Games.
Yeah, so we did 2 series, as I said, We were fairly dynamic in terms of adjusting our campaign, and I think this was a fab success in terms of what we got. We also looked at a lot of other ways in terms of getting the whole area of consumer engagement in this period. So whether it was something which we did, which was live from home and getting all the acclaimed singers on a platform, which is including Shankar Mahadevan and the likes, okay, or the series of campaign around Har Ghar, one of which you just saw, okay, or it was the moments around the mom moments which we created very strongly, small snippets which kind of really engage the customer very, very strongly in this environment. And we also did a very large thing which got us extremely high viewership, which was the Jaitu Jaitu Bharatam, in terms of kind of reaching to so many people across. And these were select singers who were shot in their homes. And I think that was the part which was important to us, because what we said, that we are embracing homes and we are part of the entire high voltage emotion which is there in the home. And that's something which we really evoked at that point of time. So I think some of this dynamic campaigns build that kind of a engagement, and I think really escalated the brand saliency in a very, very strong manner as we went by. We also did something which was really happening in the environment. There were doctors who were fighting. There were municipal corporation employees who were fighting on the forefront. There were ambulance drivers who were fighting on the forefront. And therefore, we did a small gesture in terms of saying that can we appreciate this work happening? And in a very short time, we were able to create something which we did in Mumbai at the Mahim Junction. Just take a look. So something very small, but I think something which really spread the positivity around in a very strong manner. And these were little nudges in terms of which we kept on giving as we went ahead. The other area around adjustment of various campaigns was the fact that we kind of gave a very, very strong push to innovation and looked at home services in a big way. Okay, so we looked at launching this whole service, which is the SanAssure service, which is sanitizing your homes. A paint company elevating its status, getting into something like SanAssure. And we were in a very short time, in just about 40 days, we were able to reach about 10,000 customers, okay, through basically people calling us through various, voice medias and digital kind of interfaces. And today, I think we are proud that we are able to offer this not only through a physical footprint, which spreads across a huge amount of retailers, but also in terms of various ways where the customer is able to reach us. And today, in the current month, we've almost done about 35,000 homes in one single month in terms of reaching out. And we feel that this is something which has really given a huge credibility in terms of where the brand is, what the brand is doing, and really kind of invoking the at-home service in a very, very strong way. We really geared, as I spoke of, innovations, and in a very short span of about 10 days, we launched the entire range of sanitizers in a very big way. For some of you who do not know, it's a product which would require an FDA license and a huge amount of permissions which are required. So we started this at our own plants. This was done at the behest of the Ministry of Health in terms of looking at aiding the government and really supplying. So the first week of supplies really went to a lot of hospitals, to the government, to the NGOs in terms of looking at how we could reach out to them in terms of doing our bit around the pandemic as we kind of go ahead. So I think this is something which also gave a jump start to the SaniShow services, which I just spoke of, because you had the full range in terms of what you were offering to the customers in terms of sanitizing their homes. But I think the big thing which really kind of came to the reason is that we observed that there is a lot of metros and T1 cities where we saw that there was a huge paranoia around the people in terms of looking at not getting people into their homes. And we are all gone through it and we know the reason why. And we worked a lot in terms of saying that can we, as a brand, give this assurance that we have something so that people can really get a team of painters home who can do their painting in a manner which is very, very safe. And I think we felt that we were the first ones to kind of really appropriate a safe painting service in a very, very strong manner. And this campaign really went viral in terms of not only the digital interfaces which we did, but it was a 360 degrees campaigns across TV, across print, and so on and so forth. And I think the kind of response which we got really gave a flip to the business in a strong way, which was absolutely down at that point of time, because we saw that people were just not getting into the zone at all. And therefore, I think, just adjusting our campaign, and I just said that, keep the campaigns dynamic. It's not only that you stay with a certain campaign, because certain campaigns are giving a very, very different nuance. And there is something which is a call to action as well, which can happen, which can be very good for business as we kind of go ahead. Would just like to show you the campaign quickly in terms of what we did.
मैं देखता हूँ सुखेगा क्या गोल खिला रहा है। ये क्या जुगाड़ चल रहा है? ये तो शूटिंग चल रही है। हर जगह बॉलीवुड दिखाई देता है। ये तो क्राइम सीन लग रहा है। मैं कह रही हूँ शूटिंग चल रही है। लगी 500 की। फोन लगा रहा मट्ठा किसी को। तुम्हारे लिए फोन है। ये बोल दे किसी।
लोगों के घर में झांकना छोड़िए मकीजा। तू भी अपने घर में सेफ पेंटिंग करा ले।
अरे पेंटिंग करा है ये इस टाइप पे।
हाँ, शूटिंग के लायक होगा तेरा घर।
एशियन पेंट्स सेफ पेंटिंग सर्विस मिस्ड कॉल करें 80504 80504 पे। दोनों ही गलत निकले।
चलो पैसे दो।
पैसे।
So again, a very popular campaign, got a lot of eyeballs, and shot during the COVID times with no studios and this thing. And I think something amazing which it did to the entire brand, really being at the top of the mind for the consumers. The third area which I thought is very important is that today a lot of consumers are searching for information, and whatever information and content, we have to kind of really see how we are able to really come up to speed and see that we are there in terms of giving that information and content which the customer really needs. So I think, first of all, we looked at a huge amount of digital tools to increase the process efficiencies. Please remember that this was COVID time when the call centers were, feeling stretched. A lot of call center employees were operating from home. And when people were searching and people were looking for information and content, we didn't want them to kind of really wait. And therefore, I think unleashed a series of tools, which is WhatsApp chatbots and web chat tools, in terms of looking at holding the customer very, very strongly. So the customer really did not, feel that he's waiting and waiting in terms of looking at talking to someone and getting that content. And he was able to kind of get that very, very strongly. And that's something what we invoked. The second thing which we saw, this whole campaign, we got 1.5 lakh consultations delivered within 3.5 months of the launch. And I think that's phenomenal from the point of view of what we were able to really serve, and what it really kind of gave to the confidence of not only the retailers, but as well as the brand in terms of really reaching out to these places. And a lot of this stuff happened in the metros and the T1, because what we found was that the T2, T3 cities were still kind of doing well. And it was the metros and the T1 which had to be invoked, and that paranoia need to go off. And I think this delivered in a very, very strong way in terms of looking what we did. So I think, again, in terms of when we look at feeding content and getting that information which the customer really wants in a good way, this really happens very strongly. So that's the third thing in terms of what happened. The fourth thing, quickly, I wanted to tell is that, I think this whole area of understanding your existing customers and finding new customers is a constant battle. And we just can't give up that battle, because you can never be complacent about saying that I know in terms of the set which I'm reaching. And I think that's one endeavor at Asian Paints we continuously do in terms of looking at newer and newer things. And this was a time when we were seeing that people wanted everything at home. And therefore, what we did, for the first time, any brand in India, we launched a DIY range, which is a do-it-yourself kind of a repair range. And I think this was launched through the e-com media at the marketplaces in a very, very strong way. And it really gave us a huge impetus. And there were some very simple products which fueled the need and also kind of gives a lot of curiosity. One small product which you can use just as a spray to give a frost look to your glasses. Just something which came along on the marketplaces. In an environment when we used to say DIY in India is not possible, and we really kind of got this very strongly, and we were surprised that how circumstances, how environment really changes the thinking. And I think the number of people now buying a lot of these products is phenomenal. And I think that's a big success in terms of what we got in terms of looking at this. And therefore, I think this whole area of optimizing the e-com experiences by accelerating various digital options. And we looked at really supplementing the effort with lots of range. So whether it was the adhesives range for kids, something very attractive, or it was the wall stickers which came up, all things which you could kind of take up in the home and really kind of get involved with the brand in a very strong way. And that whole thinking that you interact with this brand once in 4 years or once in 5 years was something was really challenged, because now you are interacting with the brand almost every day. And I think that's something which possibly really give us a very, very good shift. The fifth point which I want to mention here is about whole area of the merging of the offline and the online experiences. And as we kind of keep on going ahead, I think COVID or no COVID, this is a very, very strong thing which would emerge for a lot of brands. So I think meeting your customers where they are today is important. And that is something which we looked at invoking through this whole area of digital in something in a very big way. So I think it's not only in terms of getting people and guiding people to some of these stores. So we have this AP Home Stores, which is a one-stop home decor shop. It's a 7,000 square feet showroom, which kind of gives you everything in terms of what you can do in the home, right from furniture to flooring to kitchen to bath, everything what you could desire. And I think a lot of stuff which was done around in terms of getting people from all over in terms of being guided through various methodologies so that the consumer traffic increases, and we look at the improving the in-shop experience through a lot of digital things which we did. And I think what we really invoked was the entire CRM in terms of really directing the consumers so that we are able to generate that leads in digital and get these people to our stores in a very, very strong way. And I think this is something which is an ongoing area, which for a lot of brands would be very important, because today I think the online and the physical space has to coexist. It cannot just go online in terms of just e-com marketplace kind of a zone for future as we look at. And I think if both have to coexist, we need to see in terms of how do we marry them both in terms of making a win-win for the brand and for the consumer as well in terms of looking at future. The sixth area was helping the customers in a very, very new way, especially the whole area of B2B. How do you kind of reach out to these customers at this point of time? And when I say these customers, these are clearly the painters, the contractors who really influence everything at this point of time. And these are the real product ambassadors. What we started was something which was very amazing. We realized always that they always, a lot of these people have smartphones, and through the smartphones we were able to kind of send them links through which we were able to kind of connect with almost 1.2 lakh painters, okay, and had various modules, short modules, where they would kind of come in, okay, hear about the product, get trained about the product, and then they would kind of really get in terms of the usage of the product. They will come in, go out, and I think this medium really helped us in a very, very strong way in terms of really invoking their attention at this point of time, where they were worrying about their own livelihood and they were looking at in terms of what to do, but also to get their eyeballs in terms of training them very strongly for some of the products which they would have never heard. And I think it was a solid initiative where we found that in terms of the whether it was the language interface or whether we looked at in terms of the how many stuff which was downloaded by these people across the country, I think it was phenomenal in terms of the stuff which we got. And now we are taking this medium in a very strong way in terms of connecting with these people for the future. And this goes into various vernacular languages, various regions, and so on and so forth in a very strong way. And I think this becomes really an epitome in terms of saying that today, when you have these product ambassadors who are using your products in and out, how you keep on kind of adding value to them strongly through this whole digital medium in a very strong way. So I think that's the other thing in terms of what really happened. And one thing which we are very proud of is the fact that we also felt that we are responsible for their livelihood. Okay, so we transferred about 40 crores of money to their direct accounts as well. And not only that, for a lot of people who were going home because of the migration which was happening at that point in time, we ran a campaign and we were able to kind of really get a lot of people back because we were looking at giving them livelihood in a very strong way. One of my favorite films, take a look.
अरे वाह, ये किसके लिए?
ये चिंटू के लिए।
बहुत सुंदर है।
पापा, आजकल आपका पेंटिंग का काम बंद है, लेकिन चिंटू की बर्थडे लिस्ट बहुत लंबी है। बैट, बॉल, कार। मैंने सोचा मैं उसके लिए कार बना लेता हूँ। पापा,
हंसी खुशी की ढोली, थोड़ी सी आँख में चोली।
तो चलो इसे और सुंदर बनाते हैं।
हंसी खुशी की ढोली, थोड़ी सी आँख में चोली। अपनों के सपनों में लगा दे हम पहिए, बस इतनी सी ख्वाहिश हमें और क्या चाहिए। क्यों नन्हे नन्हे ख्वाबों से लुका छिपी खेले, चलो आगे बढ़कर हम अपने जिम्मे ले ले।
पापा
आधी लिस्ट तूने की, आधी मैंने कर दी। बेटा, तुम लोगों के खेलने की उम्र है, तुम लोग खेलो, पापा काम कर लेंगे।
कभी ख्वाब पड़े ना भीगे, कभी ख्वाब पड़े ना भीगे।
A phenomenal response again, and you know, whenever I see this film, it's something which really makes you very strongly emotional in terms of what it does. But really worked very well, strongly with us in terms of going forward. The seventh area, which is also very, very strong, and I think this is no surprise for the marketers, is in terms of be keen to be listening to your customers always. You know, because I strongly feel the day you can keep you away from listening to consumers and just get glued onto your screens in your AC cabins, I think you're gone. But I think what we said that was that are there ways in terms of we can kind of leverage you know, some of the you know, the techniques which are coming, you know, today Anurag spoke of some of the techniques on AI and other things which are kind of happening, and that's something which we invoked very strongly in looking at some of our films. Before that, let's take a look at one of the films in terms of where we tried using some of these techniques.
यार चिंटू, तेरा घर तो बहुत शाइन कर रहा है। थैंक्स। अरे लाइट के पास तो और भी शाइन कर रहा है। करेक्ट। यार तेरे पास तो बहुत पैसा होगा। अरे पूछो मत यार। तो छुट्टियों में पक्का फॉरेन जाएगा। सिंगापुर। सिंगापुर? वाह सिंगापुर।
चिंटू, छुट्टियों में हम कोल्हापुर जा रहे हैं। ट्रेन की टिकट मिल गई। बच्चा पार्टी, आप सबके लिए चप्पल लाएंगे।
थैंक यू अंकल। कोल्हापुर? नहीं सिंगापुर।
जब अंदर लगेगा एशियन पेंट्स ट्रैक्टर शाइन, तो महंगा ही दिखेगा। ये है शाइन वाला पेंट।
So I think we tried something on this film, and what we tried was you know, facial coding in a strong way, and we chose you know, more than about 375 customers across, where basically we were able to kind of with their permission, obviously, you know, and with their webcams on, we could kind of see the various expressions, whether it was of joy or whether it was for frowning. We could kind of really map in terms of how it kind of really goes. And the peaks which you see are the areas where people could feel very strongly in terms of where the film is really working for them. And I think we thought that it is a very strong way in terms of really taking the entire research process forward in a very strong way in terms of what's really working for a film, how it kind of works, and it can generate a score, which is what is something like a valence which comes in, which gives you indication in terms of where it goes. And obviously you can compare it with various brands in terms of how it is working, so you know the relativity in terms of going forward. And this technique then tomorrow can be combined with even neural, where you can give a gear to the consumer and you could kind of really see how the brain is really working along with the face in terms of how the coordination is happening and how the film is really working for us. So I think that is something which is very new in terms of what we tried, and it really worked, and we've already tried it on 2 of our films, and it's given us some very good results. Point number 8, which we are looking at, is that can we create a single unified touch point for consumers and cross leverage across businesses? So today we have so many touch points across happening in the organization. And today, if you see, whether it is the online spaces, whether it is the physical spaces, whether it is the social media spaces, whether it is the work with respect to what's happening at the stores in terms of what we have, what's happening in the community, what's happening. So I think there are so many places where the customer is entering and customer is going off. And therefore, we have we did this whole thing of having a single unified view of the customer so that we are able to capture the various points in terms of what's happening in the journey, and we are able to then connect the customer. Even if the customer comes from one part and enters into another part, we are able to have that single unified view. So I think some of the work here is still WIP, to be honest, but I think a lot of work which has happened, which gives us a tool in terms of really cross leveraging across businesses. So for example, if a customer has got into a safe painting at home, tomorrow we are able to leverage a modular kitchen to the customer. If the person has taken, say, a modular kitchen, we can leverage a waterproofing service to the customer. If a person has taken, say, a sanitizing service, you can leverage anything else as a cross business to the customer. And I think it really works very, very strongly in terms of how we are able to kind of then really look at direct marketing in a very non-intrusive way and see in terms of how we are able to connect people strongly and have a single unified view across all points. And that really unifies digital, phygital, and getting everything together in one window in a strong way in terms of going forward. So I think this is a big one in terms of going for future, in terms of what we look at. This one is still very interesting because today we have so many different handles on social media, and as we keep on going, I think this is something which will keep on proliferating more and more. More mediums will come, and I think we will always struggle that are we going to do the same thing across these medias? How do we kind of really take the strengths of each of these and do something which is very different? And it becomes very difficult for marketers that can we do different stuff across different mediums, because that means you have to keep on generating very different type of content. And that's what we looked at, saying that can we use all these platforms very, very differently. So I think where we looked at YouTube from the point of view of very, very strong content platform. Okay, Facebook was strongly used from the point of view of reach. Okay, in terms of what we could kind of do in terms of looking at it. And therefore, I think for everything, we looked very differently. So whether it was a Pinterest to inspire, whether it was a Twitter in terms of what we wanted to do, I think we looked at everything very differently in terms of what we do. It also meant that we could generate various kind of content for each of this. But I can tell you the amount of leverage you are able to get in terms of looking at each of these handles very differently. It is just amazing in terms of how much possibly it does in terms of looking at really getting inside the consumer in a very, very strong way. So having seen all this, the last thing which comes in is what are we doing and preparing for what's next. So I think that's very important because, as I said, the current environment obviously is something which is going to continue for some time. But I think in this environment, it's very, very strong that we need to keep on reinventing, reimagining, like in our case, we have a brick and mortar strategy. I think that cannot go anywhere, and we need to kind of keep on looking at ways and means in terms of what we are doing in terms of really spreading our wings, really spreading that supply chain model in terms of what's going and what is the innovation we can bring in around that. The other is that how do we kind of keep on building capabilities, and therefore I think looking at trends is very, very important. Looking at changing practices is very important. Looking at in terms of changing customer segmentation is very important. And I keep on saying today what's happening is that it is the age of micro segmentation, and today you cannot say that today one segment you can universally predict that will stay for a while. I think the amount of dynamic changes which are happening between segments is very, very strong, and therefore if we are not able to build capabilities to sense this, okay, I think we are not headed anywhere to that extent. The third is obviously, as I said, giving the trends far more credence in terms of how the preferences are changing. So I think today, like everyone is saying, that the health and hygiene well-being space is which all brands are trying to appropriate. But I think the most important thing is that today, once the COVID is over, okay, how would this health and hygiene things change? Okay, will it start moving from just being about maintaining hygiene to maintaining something which is long-term in terms of a well-being architecture? Okay, so I think lots of things will have to be seen in terms of this changing customer preferences, and that is something which we will have to keep a tab on. And finally, okay, we will have to plan for a very, very different trajectory. And I feel that as this whole pandemic kind of phases out, okay, the trajectory we might see is going to be very, very strong. And are we really prepared as brands that today, when this all finishes, where are we kind of taking it? And when this is going on, how are we planning different stuff so that a certain current trajectory of business we are able to maintain? So I would say that some of those are the things in terms of how I would look at what's coming next and how do we need to kind of prepare for that. So these were the 10 areas which I felt which were important and something which we have done, and which is something which has given a real impetus in terms of leveraging the digital world very, very strongly. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Singhal. This has been wonderful. I feel like the kind of companion for people can get back to whenever they are in trouble. The transformation of being digital, innovating, and yet keeping the emotion of the consumers in check. I think that was amazing. I really enjoyed this presentation. I'm sure all our viewers have enjoyed it too and taken a lot of takeaways from it. So thank you so much, Mr. Singhal.
Thank you, Kathy, so much. If there are any questions, I can quickly take a question. If there is anything, otherwise, I think the next speaker can come in.
We've received a lot of questions, but because of the paucity of time and the next speaker being here, we'd have to take that offline. And I would encourage everybody to please join us in this online conversation on Twitter using the hashtag #TechMunch. So thank you so much, Mr. Singhal, for your time and for this very detailed, wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we're moving on to our next keynote address. Steering this session is a woman who cares deeply about making the internet equitable and also make it gender diverse, and also has been a pioneer of the Internet Sathi program, where they have trained over 30 million women on digital literacy. She has been part of range of experiences in technology, consulting, and financial services. She started her career in consulting at Deloitte Consulting in New York and worked across product development, operations, customer marketing at American Express for the US and international markets for more than a decade. A mother of 8-year-old twins and a constant traveler, life is never boring and she gets energy from each of her markets. She's the Senior Country Marketing Director, Google India and Southeast Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and do give out your emoticons, because she's going to address on the 7 ways digital is shaping cultural and consumer behavior in India. Welcoming Sapna Chadha. Very warm welcome.
Great, thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be here. And I hope you can see my screen okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Delighted to have you here.
It's so great to be here. And thank you so much for having me. I'm a marketer like so many of you, and I'm an advertiser, and I care about the same things that many of you who are listening care about. We have a lot of the same concerns and questions and thoughts in today's day and age. You might think at Google, what do we do when it comes to marketing? But we actually think extensively around how we drive our customer growth across all of our consumer products. And so I have many of the same thoughts and concerns as many of you. And today I'm going to be talking to you about what's happening on digital, the extreme amount of growth that we've been witnessing. I'm going to be talking to you about how we've seen such an incredible growth over the last few years, and what that has done in terms of how we think about the segments of users that are online, and how new and early internet users are united by digital, and they're actually more alike than you might think. And that's the source, or that's the focus of my presentation today. We're calling it Same, but Different. And it's about how new and early internet users are united by digital and more alike than we think. I hope you can see my slides okay. I'm going to continue assuming that you can see my slides. Okay. So the internet now reaches more than 500 million people across India. That is more than the population of the US, Mexico, and Canada combined. I moved to India over a decade ago, and if you had asked me would we have seen these numbers, I would have said probably no. But today what's happened is that there's an increasing access of digital tools across both rural and urban India. This is not just an urban India phenomenon, and it's across demographics as well. And so when we think of our role as marketers, we need to understand the impact that these digital tools have had on consumer behavior. And this understanding has become essential for every marketer today to really understand the nuances. And there's many a time that I hear hypotheses or I hear biased kind of views on who's online and what are they doing. And so we've spent a lot of time understanding and digging into this because there is no one set of Indian users online. They are different, but they are united in many, many ways. So we determined a bunch of trends. We used the following approach. We understood through a study in 2019 by interviewing hundreds of customers across metros, peri-urban and rural areas, and across different life stages. We discovered that people who have come on the internet in the last 12 months are behaving very similarly to the people who have been using the internet for the last 12 years. And we validated these findings then with 10 prominent industry experts. And we discovered the pivotal shifts that the internet has brought to consumer behavior and culture. And you can see here on the approach that we took, and as the output of this is that we identified 7 trends that are converging with consumers in both demographics, both the early and the internet users. So what's our point of view as Google? Today, I will share some of these fundamental behavioral shifts that we've seen across these 2 cohorts, which were traditionally thought to be very disparate. We think these trends demonstrate how digital is a unifying force that influences culture and connects people. These trends urge us to reevaluate our previous understanding of a diverse India, behaving in completely divergent ways. We see more similarities, like I said, than you might think. But at the same time, there's distinct nuances. That's why we say same, but different. Because while there's a lot of similarities, there are some distinct nuances which we have to acknowledge as well. We have also seen that these trends manifest themselves on our products, including search and YouTube. I'm going to share with you some of those highlights and show you how new internet users searching and consuming the same things as early adopters of the internet. I'll also walk you through some examples of how brands are staying ahead and reinforcing these trends into their messaging and their product strategy. Now, we have to acknowledge that COVID has had an impact on these trends. While we did the report before COVID, we had to understand that all of this is up for a change now in this new world. And so we took that lens and understood just how it was changed. Crisis brings about an acceleration in trends. And I think, Amit was talking about this before me, that there's acceleration in trends that we've seen. And we think with a rapid increase in digitization, some trends will accelerate while some might stay at the status quo. You can see here the 7 trends that we've identified. I'm going to go through 4 of them just because of the time. But for example, trends like balancing we and me, which talks about balancing family and our individual selves. It's getting a boost at this time because of the comfort, that it brings about in a time of crisis. Balancing of we and me, we don't want to do this alone. And so there is that comfort that is exacerbating this. Whereas trends like watch or go, independent every day, which I feel very passionate about, will maintain status quo during the crisis. There are deeper and long-term trends, and they're enduring. And actually, we've seen that this crisis hasn't been great for women. And unfortunately, we won't see an acceleration of this one, is what I'm afraid of. While there are 7 overall, I'm going to unpack 4 of the accelerating trends. But I think it's important to know what's changing even more than we thought before. Let's start with balancing we and me. We see that while people are getting more independent because of digital tools, there is still a need to connect with families and the community. This is a good example of an accelerating trend because the lockdown has forced families to stay at home. This forced togetherness has brought with it a realization that modern family is not just about sharing space, but it's about sharing ourselves. I think, for this year, we're all going to be better at the end of it, while it's been extremely hard. But I think understanding that realization that family is where you get a lot of balance is very, very important. And while there's a similarity, and these trends apply to everyone, they apply to early and new internet users, we've seen that the motivation for these trends, they vary a bit. Early internet users want to connect with their family out of a sense of alienation, and they're using digital tools in a really interesting way. Whereas newer internet users who have just gotten online, well, they're getting a taste of personal independence, but they want to balance it with strong ties to their community, and they're using digital to stay close to their community. We've seen this behavior across Google search and YouTube both. There's been a 25% increase in searches for family and a 30% increase in searches for with family year over year, meaning that people are adding with family to the questions that they've had. It's amazing. On YouTube, we've seen that one of the top reasons people watch YouTube is to connect to people, even though more than 70% of online video viewers consider it as a personal screen. You know, bringing it to life, I'm going to use an example from Google itself. You know, with COVID cases continuing to accelerate rapidly, the adverse impact is being felt significantly on our healthcare system and our healthcare workers. To acknowledge the contribution made by frontline workers at Google, we looked at this and we said we must acknowledge and thank them. Thank the medical workers, nurses, and doctors for tirelessly working on fighting COVID-19. The film that we created then led people to a donation page because we saw that people were searching for ways that they could help. And so we used this moment as people search for ways that they could help to also support frontline workers. And this is a balance of we and me. It shows you how we brought this trend to life. It's not just about me and my individual self. We need to show concern. Our community is important. And you know, this balancing of personal interdependence and independence and strong ties to the community comes together. The next trend that we've seen is never too late to learn. We see that access to the internet has made it easier for people to learn and upskill themselves irrespective of their stages in life. With people staying at home, this trend has been accelerated by the need to be self-sufficient. And it's been a much needed distraction during a time of crisis. People are embracing easy and enjoyable education, both to upskill themselves, but also to pursue passions that were erstwhile neglected. Here again, we've seen this trend manifest itself differently with both early and new internet users. Early internet users wanting to enhance their education and upskill themselves. The motivation here is to build richer inner lives by following their passion and taking charge of their own professional development. The newer internet users, on the other hand, they've been using the internet to supplement gaps in their skills and their knowledge that will help them get ahead when we're out of this. We've seen that this behavior across Google, search, and YouTube is real. There's been a 75% growth for queries around learn online and a 2.5 times growth for queries around teach online. And that's just year on year. 4 in 5 customers are coming to YouTube today to learn something new. 4 in 5. You know, and if you look at who's bringing this to life and really tapping into this insight, it's Upgrad. Upgrad is one of India's biggest edtech companies. They've built their business strategy on helping professionals upskill themselves to the latest industry standards. Entering a market that has been focused on exam prep, Upgrad brought edtech courses to people across India, illustrating the breadth of India's demand for continuous learning at all levels. Upgrad's communication strategy stresses upon how one can get ahead in their careers with courses, and how to take charge of your own professional development. With courses and certifications fit for adult learning now, they've brought this to life through their product, and they've also brought this trend of never being too late to learn through their advertising and their marketing as well. Both are working hand in hand on this insight, never too late to learn. The third trend, entertainment for me, by me. We've seen that the draw of the internet as a place for entertainment, which is true, well, it's turned into the destination of choice to escape from a stressful day or immerse oneself in a different experience. Entertainment through content has drastically increased across cohorts during COVID. While this need was and continues to be triggered by boredom and by monotony, of course that's the case, it's the anxiety and stress with respect to COVID that's accelerating and it's amplifying the trend today. Here we see the following motivations. Early internet users came to the internet to inform and enrich their lives, but now are turning to it for entertainment as the perfect place to escape from a harried day and to escape and enjoy. While for newer internet users, entertainment has become the gateway to the internet. It's their destination to get out of the boredom of daily life, and it's become a personal destination for entertainment and enjoyment. We've seen this behavior across search and YouTube as well. On Google search, there's been a 5 times growth for queries related to entertainment. On YouTube, we've seen that more than 85% of online video viewers come to YouTube to relax and unwind. And in terms of a brand that's brought this to life exceptionally well, I'd give a shout out to Flipkart. Everybody knows Flipkart is India's leading homegrown e-commerce entity, and it's carving a niche in the nonfiction genre, offering differentiated and interactive content, which is mobile first. And Flipkart Video is continuing to introduce new offerings by very interesting concepts and interactive formats. And they're demonstrating the insatiable appetite for Indians that have this appetite for entertainment no matter where they're located. With most people spending time indoors over the past few months, Flipkart Videos continuing to be user first and believes in the importance of enhanced entertainment and engagement, thus bringing to the life entertainment for me and by me. And the last trend I'm going to talk about today is 100% authentic. We have seen content that reflects real life is rising in popularity as consumers are no longer looking at icons and brands with wide-eyed wonder. Instead, especially during these times, they expect greater authenticity and accountability. They're seeking to engage and follow people and brands who are honest and authentic. In the times of an infodemic, where you don't know what's right and what's wrong, consumers are becoming much more discerning about both the source and the quality of the information that they consume. And this is across the board. This isn't certain segments of users. In the face of fake news and rumors, both verification and veracity has become vital. Authenticity of information and authenticity of the brand becomes a big source of insurance, and it provides control, and it helps to better prepare and manage anxiety during these times. It becomes even more important for brands to come across as authentic rather than opportunistic in the times that we're in. For early internet users, after working towards achievement and accomplishment, there's a desire to project a curated image, but push back on anything that lacks authenticity. Don't want it. For the newer internet user, content that is recognizable and relatable appeals to them. They like to identify with what they're seeing and feel comfortable with it. On Google search, we have seen more than 60% year-on-year rise in average weekly searches for queries related to true story, and 55% year-over-year rise in average weekly searches for queries related to behind the scenes. People care, well, what's happening? What's the real truth? More than 75% of customers prefer watching content on YouTube that reflects their actual life. Now, bringing this to life, I'll use another Google example. In our campaign for Google Pay to showcase some of India's biggest payments, we took the help of real Indian icons who had changed India for the better, starting with a single payment. And this campaign leveraged factual stories, real people who have achieved success, real Indians who have done amazing things, making the campaign more relatable, but also making it 100% authentic. It's really important, 100% authentic. I'm going to wrap up all of the trends with a quick video to give you a sense of some more that we might have glossed over and we might have missed.
I would say it was about when I was 13 years old that I got interested in the brain.
I hope you found all these insights useful. And we've put together a detailed report, which hopefully will be helpful to many of the brands and marketers on the call today. You can find it at Think with Google. This contains not just the 4 trends that I shared, but more, and a lot of data and insights on what we're seeing. You can see where you can find it here on the link, or use the QR code to reach it as well. thinkwithgoogle.com. India's new and early internet users have arrived online at very, very different points in India's digital journey. One would expect that these cohorts behave differently, but as our research showed you, early and new internet users are alike, unlike traditional marketing knowledge might tell us. With increased connectivity reaching even the most remote parts of our country, we'll likely see many more overlaps in online identity, use, and behavior as new users find ways to make the internet their own. Lastly, I'd like to leave you with this thought. We are in constantly evolving scenario, more so now as both humans and marketers. Understanding what's top of mind for our users has a potential implication for our businesses. It is clear that businesses that identify and understand the needs of their customers now, they will stand to drive sustainable growth in the long term. In many ways, it's time to upend our most fundamental beliefs about consumer behavior and customer service, and to think differently. Same, but different. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for being a great audience.
Thank you, Sapna. That was a wonderful presentation, and in fact, such key insights that brings out a lot of questions in all of us. And so our viewers have sent us many questions. I'd like to just take a few with you here on screen. So there's a question which says that real world manifestation is what makes these trends robust. In your personal or professional experience, have you come across some of these trends that you can talk about to us?
Yeah, no, it's a really great question. And in my opinion, the trend in growing self-belief, that might be closest today when we talk about our own, experiences that we've had, and especially in today's world. People look up to and they reach out to heroes, homegrown local heroes, who still are an inspiration for the larger community. And so these local success stories are found to be more relatable rather than those of faraway international icons. Right? I think what's homegrown is more important. And we're seeing that this trend is exemplifying the same sentiment probably during COVID as well, when one's belief in self and one's abilities is needed ever more to steer clear of the crisis that we're in. And so more real life heroes doing their bit to help out greater good, or even setting examples of achieving success in tough times, that brings comfort and reassurance. So I would say this growing self-belief is what I would call attention to.
And that's the one that calls out to you the most as well in these times?
I know personally I'd have a different one. I would definitely pick everyday independence among women. I think women are able to make better and informed decisions for their family with digital. That's why we've been spending a lot of time as Google to eradicate the gender divide that exists on the internet. It's actually quite a big gap between internet users, between male and female, and there's a big gap which we've been trying to really get over and make progress on. And so whether it's related to ways for improving family or health, women are doing things, really amazing things on digital. And this knowledge of the world around them in the crisis that they're in and dealing with problems, helping their community, helping their family. That's what's adding to the everyday confidence that women have. And it's interesting, that their role and their contribution is now being acknowledged more. But what's sad, I think, and why this one sits with me the most importantly is that, we're seeing that the role of women is being held back during this crisis. And so if digital can play any role in helping, that's all we can hope for.
Absolutely. There's another question which says that in the times of an infodemic, which is something that you also touched upon, consumers are becoming much more discerning about both source and quality of information. In the face of fake news and rumors, both verification and veracity become vital. So, what could be the role of brands in this scenario?
I think coming back to 100% authenticity of information becomes a big source of assurance to provide control, to help people prepare better, manage anxiety, as I was saying before. And so it becomes even more important for brands to come across as authentic rather than opportunistic during these times. And I think, there's so much information out there, and we're seeing with the questions that people ask every day as they come to digital platforms show that they're really looking for the real news and the real, the authentic information, and being more discerning around who they trust. And so you need to be a brand that's trusted and be a source of assurance.
Okay. We have another question from Anup Notial. He says, do you think digital is growing at the right pace, or is it too rapid for a marketeer to catch up with?
Oh, okay. Well, I have a very different point of view. If you had asked me for the last, several years, was it growing at the right pace? I would have said absolutely. India's gone through a huge transformation, and yes, it is hard to keep up. And the way we reach users, it changes every day, every week, every month. But I think what we've seen during this crisis as Google is that there's still so many people that don't have access. And in a world where information is everything, knowing how to get help, how to take care of your family, how to check on, information around the crisis that we're in, it's actually sad to me that more people don't have access today. And so for me, it's less about our role as marketers and our journeys on keeping up, but it's more about the value to society, about having, access to information it's like water. You need it, and not everybody has it today. So I think we have work to do still.
Absolutely. We still have a long way to go, but we are moving and taking strides in the right direction. So, Sapna, here's another question I want to quickly ask you is how has internet made a difference during this pandemic? Overall, the internet usage of consumers, if you might just throw some light on it.
Yeah. I can only, share the perspective that we have as Google. People have come to Google and searched for information related to the pandemic, and we've been able to work, with partners from the government, Ministry of Health, et cetera, to be able to share the right information, the real answers that people have during this time. And so it's been a source of information.
Yes.
It's been a source of entertainment. It's been a source of connection. I think whether it's video calling, entertainment, all of these things have happened because of digital. And I think back to the last crises that we were in, perhaps, decades ago, or, if you think about other crises during, the last 100 years, the fact that digital wasn't there would have, kept, the population back, not being able to connect, not being able to get the information that they needed, and also not allowing life to go on. I think, many of us are joining this call today, and TechManch is doing a virtual digital conference. We would have never thought actually life is going on. And I look at the role of digital just helping us do our jobs and stay connected, but also, giving us what we need in terms of information. I think for us at Google, our mission is to provide universal access to information, and that's been the most important thing during this time.
Absolutely. And it has definitely kept us going and moving forward in this pandemic as well. Thank you so much, Sapna, for this time and for sharing that wonderful presentation with us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, and wish you a great event and a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Sapna. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, we are moving forward. Before that, let me remind all of you once again, we are keeping this online conversation going using our hashtag TechMunch, which is TECHMANCH. We'd love to hear from you on Twitter using the hashtag. Also, before moving forward to our next session, we're excited to announce a new initiative by Exchange for Media, which is Digital ACE Awards, to recognize inspiring leadership, management excellence, outstanding business performance, and overall achievements in digital marketing. Now, who can enter? Open to all agencies that focus on creating digital marketing communication for its clients. That includes digital marketing, media, advertising, creative, digital, PR, independent, and other specialist agencies with operations or clients in India. They could be in the area of paid or organic search, social content, retargeting, performance display, feed management, email marketing, conversation, and conversion rate optimization, or any other services. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to participate and be a part of Digital ACE Awards, you can contact the Exchange for Media team. You can speak to the teammates Michelle Norona and Anna Fernandez, and you can get more details from them. So, once again, coming back to Tech Munch, we're now moving on to our first panel for the day. This is going to be an interesting discussion on changing marketing mix in accelerated digital adoption. We'd like to welcome our session chair first. He has been in the digital industry for over 17 years. He launched Isobar in India in August 2008 and has taken the agency to newer heights. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Shamsuddin Jasani, Group Managing Director, South Asia Isobar. A very warm welcome, Mr. Jasani. We also have on the panel Mr. Pavan Sarda, Group CMO, Marketing Digital and E-Commerce, Future Group India, and Mr. Venkatadri Ranganathan, Chief Innovation and Digital Officer, Tata Chemicals. A very warm welcome to all of you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Hi, thank you.
Hello,
I
good
hope I'm
evening. Warm
audible.
welcome to you. Yes, sir. So, Mr. Jasani, I'd leave this to you to take the conversation forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you for joining us. It's a very unique thing that we are now meeting Tech Munch after so many years being part of Munch and being physically there. It's now time to really take it to the digital platform as such, and it's interesting. I've been with Pavan on quite a few platforms together, so we've been having this back and forth for a while now. But I've had this unique opportunity now to meet Venkatri the first time that we are there, and it will be quite an interesting panel, a mix of experiences across FMCG, across CPG, e-commerce, B2B, chemicals, and of course as an agency for pretty much all my life. It's The idea is the focus on how the media mix is changing in the COVID and the post-COVID world. A lot of panelists, including Sapna before us, have spoken about how COVID has really changed audiences and how audiences are now lapping up digital and how digital is really exploding. I would say over the past 6 months, I think the change has been phenomenal. We've seen the adoption of digital and the curve really being very steep in the last, especially 4 months in the lockdown period. Things are now slowly coming back to, I would say, the new normal. It's not normal yet, but I do see that digital is now becoming, yes, it's important, but the trend is now again flattening as such. The curve is not going up as quickly as it was. But there are some changes which are here to stay. And the panel here really is about what has happened, how are the media mix, as well as from a business perspective, how is digital now playing a very key role in this COVID and post-COVID world. And then we will take up questions from the team. So we'll give it about 30 minutes for our conversations and about 15 minutes for the audience to really talk about it. So what we'll start off with is a minute or two from Pawan and from Venkatri in terms of knowing them better as the person they are. And the role that they play and how digital really is pretty much an integral part of what they do. and then I'll introduce myself post that. So yeah, so up to you, Pawan, and then we can go to Venkatri.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone's like safe home and watching us. Yeah, I think I think it's been 5 months, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I think there's been a roller coaster ride in everyone's life. Obviously, I think that impacts business, that impacts consumers, and that's brought in a lot of new things, new perspective, new way of looking at things. And I don't think initially we were sort of, ready or even expected. I think this was one phase where no marketing book has ever taught us that how to deal with it. But I think, but yeah, I think intuitively, I think we started to react, especially in terms of how the consumers are reacting and how the businesses should be. I think the first thing which we did for our business is actually to go online. I think while I think some of our fashion businesses were already online, but I think we also took Big Bazaar online, and we actually launched like shop.bigbazaar within the span of 15 days. I think that's one thing which we did. And obviously, I think now it's been 5 months. A lot of things are changing. I think now it's a question of where the consumer is going and what they are doing and how we can actually service the consumer. That's where we are currently. Yeah. Otherwise, from a personal side, I had. I'm the CMO for Future Group, apart from traditional marketing and digital marketing both. So that's from my side. Thank you.
Yeah, Venkatri, up to
Hi.
next.
Hi.
You give us a brief intro.
Hi. Good evening. Venkatadri here from Tata Chemicals. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the Nutrition Science business, and which I just took over a couple of weeks back. And before that, I was looking after innovation and digital for the Tata Chemicals part of it for a year and a half. And previous to that, I was Chief Operating Officer in Rallis, which is an agri input company. And clearly, I think if you look at what the COVID has made to all of us is that it has taught us a lot of new things. It has kind of reinforced some of the old uh, concepts that we used to think are very important, and changed the not only the business priority but also customer preferences. How do they look at markets? How do they look at their own self? I think there's been a lot of change, and I'm sure some of those things will come up as we are go ahead in the discussion today.
Thanks, thank you both. So just a brief note on myself as well. I look after South Asia for the Isobar Group, and am part of the exec member for the Dense Wages Network in India. Just talking about as an agency and what we feel where things are going. It's been a transformational journey for I think pretty much everyone, from brands to businesses, from smaller shops to us as a agency group and as networks. I think all of us, as Pawan rightly pointed out, the first couple of months was just about running around and figuring out what life was all about. I think it was the first month or so was really a struggle for everyone. No one had an inkling of what to do. There was no right and wrong. It was just about figuring out and trying to grapple with what's difficult and what's easy. I think the entire industry and all of us have really, and as India, have really come up to the challenge, and I think the speed at which things have evolved, the speed at which things have changed, from a technology perspective, I think we have to give it to everyone saying that our internets have been on track. We are having this conversation, and there is hardly a drop. I think as all of us, we've done a good job of really getting there. The companies are doing a good job of making sure that everyone is connected and everyone's doing the job, and the consumers are also getting what they want. So everyone's reacted very well to COVID. The consumers have really started also kind of experimenting. All kinds of platforms are gaining traction. E-commerce, of course, is something which I think I would say that the boom or the transformation that was supposed to happen much later, COVID, I think everyone knows about it and everyone's talking about it. COVID has really brought forward that transformation. So my question to the panelists, starting with Venkatri, you, and then going to Pawan, is what are any specifics that you have seen that COVID has enabled you, or that or digital has enabled you rather, in this last 5 months, which you would not have thought of before, and what has it that has changed in your media mix, which you think you've explored in the last few months, as COVID has hit, and as the transformation has happened for you as well.
Yeah, actually, when COVID started, I was actually looking after the IT digital for Tata Chemicals. So I was on the side to make sure that the company gets the necessary support to be able to leverage the IT and the digital platform to reach out to the customers. Now, what was very critical is that we've always believed, and from the business end, that it's very important that you need to be physically sitting with the customer, talking to the customer, trying to get if you need to do business development or resolve issues, use physical means to do so. And that was one of the critical changes that we have had to do. If I look at my own company in Tata Chemicals, we have a B2B part of the business, which is a big part, which is our soda ash and salt part of the business. And we have the B2B2C, which is the agri part of the business, which is Rallis, which is part of our group. And so we've had to kind of change in the circumstances in a very different manner in both the senses. With the B2B part of it, obviously, the critical part of in B2B is that you need to be in close touch with the customer, trying to resolve the necessary problems. It's not much of discovery of of new customers, because in B2B, the set of customers that we have are kind of limited and fixed. I mean, it's not like a B2C where you have thousands and lakhs of them. So there, the important part of it is how do you actually use digital to be able to facilitate business transactions between companies, make sure that we have online meetings with them, meet across, normally, one has conferences every year. So we had to do a conference with 70 of them over the web. That is from a B2B perspective. B2C perspective, B2B2C, which is the Rallis part of it, there we do reach out to almost 12, 15 million farmers every year. And there, a lot of work used to be in terms of marketing, used to be quite a lot of on-ground marketing, where, there would be posters, there would be jingles, there would be road shows. That's where our big marketing spends used to be, with a bit of digital. But when this came about, clearly we had to change, because obviously nobody could go into the market. So we had to leverage the digital way of working. So, the kind of YouTube messages that used to go across to, talking about the product to millions of farmers, conducting farmer meetings for 300, 400 farmers, and taking training programs, which used to happen physically, happening over the web. Also, a big change in the way we were able to leverage WhatsApp, made small videos of the various training programs that we would normally conduct, and then share it across the digital medium. So there we have had to actually substantially change from the physical connect, which almost was 95% used to be physical connect, turned out to be almost 50-60% digital connect. And a lot of investment and money also went into leveraging the digital part of it.
So, Venkatri, hold that thought. I will come back to you with a question around that. Pawan, you're all yours in terms of understanding what the last 5 months have really brought. I know you were already on a journey on transformation and digitization much before COVID hit, but your thoughts in how things have changed and how COVID has changed life for you as a marketer within the Future Group.
Yeah, so I think I'll speak more from the consumer side. I think for a retail brand, it's very important that we acquire customers. And if the way I look at it, I don't know how much, where is it going to last? What is it going to happen? I'm talking more as digital says that it's all about the moment. So let me speak about the moment right now. So I think if you look at when we need to engage with our audience, we have limited choices, right? I mean, we know that there is a bit of an issue from a penetration like a traditional medium like press, right? We don't know where it is. And of course television is something which I think you need to have big budgets to sort of, and I think it's good for brand building. I mean, that's the way I look at it, right? Currently I think what's really required is you need to have consumers, like customers who can come and buy, and obviously you have to kind of give them a lot of comfort, of safety, and so on and so forth. So I think that's why I think digital has played a big role. Obviously I think the usage of digital and a mobile phone has like increased multifold, right? And that's one of the reason why we chose this medium to sort of reach out to our target audience, and and give them different stories, right? I mean, it's really not about, I don't think we are in an era of saying that it's a best offer and come and shop with me, right? I don't think we are in that era at all. I think there's an era which needs a lot of storytelling, right? It needs a lot of demonstration of what's happening in the store, right? Like what's the kind of safety measures are you taking, right? How are you ensuring that there is social distancing? I mean, I have got so many calls from a lot of relatives and so on and so forth, and everyone's like, oh, is it safe to go to the store? And I think a lot of those kind of storytelling had to happen. Obviously, while the media mix changed, the storytelling also sort of changed, right? I think, yeah, I mean, these are the kind of huge changes which we have seen. And yeah, I mean, I think 15th August was the first time when we actually saw that customers were coming out. I mean, apart from the online side, right? I'm not talking about the online side, but at least in the physical form, I think that was one day where a lot of us as retailers, when we were exchanging notes, we realized that actually the customers have sort of come out because of, it's not because the stores were too crowded, but just because of the social distancing norm. We could see some queues also outside, right? I mean, that was I think very positive, and therefore I think we are looking forward to festive, and hopefully things should become a bit of a normal. I wouldn't say like it's going to be 100%, but somewhere there for us, for everyone.
So yeah, coming back to what you were saying, Venkatari, in terms of specifically taking on the farmers now, and the media mix that swapped from 95% physical to 60% digital. Uh, that's really what I think a lot of people speak about in terms of saying that because of COVID, the transformation has really kind of jumped on one side. Do you think this will sustain? Do you think now that you've tasted this working, this platform now started to working, even when we go back to say the new normal or close to normal that was there, do you think that you will still now use this much more than you were doing earlier, and now the new digital norm is here to stay and it's not going back to what it was in the pre-COVID days?
See, I would look at it by looking at what are the customer needs and how does it how does the company reach out to the customer. There are certain services which require physical presence. There are some things which can be done digitally. Now, for example, in the area of farming, there is a lot of work that needs to be done where you have to go and demonstrate a product. You have to use the product on the field and demonstrate that it is actually giving the benefit to increasing crop yield, keeping the crop safe, etc. And there are other things which are where you are actually talking about the product communication, creating a need, in terms of awareness creation. What I would think is that while today we have kind of swung the other way around, to quite a lot of digital. I would say that the digital proportion will be definitely much higher than the pre-COVID days, but will it come down substantially? I don't think that would happen, because what we have seen is that the part where you can do offline, I mean, sitting from far away, using digital media, which is communication, training programs, awareness building, those are things which will are likely to continue to be in digital. The place where we have to go and do product demonstrations, that will again go back to the physical means. So I would say that there will be a shift, partial shift back, but not a full shift back to older times.
Okay, and now a question to the panel. It's slightly mischievous question, I would put it. IPL is coming up, and there is, of course, now that people are at home and slightly stepping out of home, there is still this anxiety of people stepping out, and still the semi lockdown and unlock 3 is coming up. Um, the questions that are floating is that will the percentage of people spends that were there on IPL remain like it was between digital and television, or do you think it will skew more towards television or more towards digital? This is purely related to the next, the largest event. Honestly, this largest event is also coinciding with festival for the first time, and clearly the eyeballs are might the spends are might shift more towards IPL than towards the festival spends. How do you see that? Do you see that playing up? I mean, anyone can take that question. Do you see it more towards television, or do you see that it's going to be digital first?
Okay, so if I take
As a
the
marketer.
question, yeah. Firstly, I think IPL happening per se is a great thing, because I feel that somewhere I believe that advertising and consumption, they are kind of correlated with each other, right? Advertising creates consumption, and obviously to create consumption, people do advertising, right? So I think that's a good thing. Firstly, a bit of a positivity which the country will see. I think and I think the timing is pretty right from a festive perspective and so on. So I think as a viewer, I'm looking forward. There's no doubt about it, right? As an advertiser, I don't know. I mean, it's again, it depends from businesses to businesses, and it also depends a lot from at what stage they are, right? If I speak of myself and my business, I think what's really important right now is more than brand building, actually acquiring customers. So I'm just putting that up front, right? I mean, that's the biggest need which we have it. I think just to create that funnel, and I think obviously digital also create a bit of a more engagement, and we have seen it in the past, like people like, I think, Swiggy and all, they've done some fabulous job, right? So I think I mean, brands who have huge monies definitely go for the mainline advertising. But I think if people have restricted monies in terms of budgets, because all of us are going through that, Shams, you have to take consideration of that, right? Because there's a huge amount of marketing cuts which has happened across, right? So anybody who has money, I mean, I would definitely advise that go ahead and spend it on digital for during IPL, because I'm sure that just the consumption of phone is going to be far more active during that point in time. And you know that IPL is just not about viewing, it adds so many other things to it, right? So yeah, I mean, that's what is going to be my take.
Yeah, I'll also add to it, but I think that the whole community angle that digital really brings is where the investment in IPL on digital really works. Like you were saying, it's not just about one way viewing.
Right.
What your mobile phone and what that brings towards the whole. So while you're watching and while you're actually kind of, because you're not at home, it's even more reason that you will use your phones and your digital presence to interact with your friends, and it really depends upon the platforms to be able to latch on to that and innovate, to be able to capitalize on this whole thing, saying, okay, there's IPL happening. How do I build communities around it, and start being a part of that community, and brands have a can leverage that. I really feel that that's where, and you're right. The spends have come down. Digital gives a bigger bang for the buck, and I think it's something which is critical. So even I feel that IPL will see an uplift in digital spends. Venkatri, anything that you would like to add from your marketing hat? I know you wear so many hats as a COO, as a marketing person as well. Your thoughts in terms of how do you feel that that's going to work?
Yeah, see, one important thing that has happened is that the COVID has changed the behavior of all of us. So people have got used to now digital quite a lot, and human nature, that stickiness will continue for quite some time. So I would reckon that one, people will continue to be in digital. So there is going to be a lot more focus that IPL would get covered through digital. That's one. Second thing is that let me also give you a personal example. I have two 20-year-old sons. Both of them love soccer. And earlier when any of these soccer matches used to happen, all their friends all used to congregate in one house and watch the television, where they used to have fun right up to whatever 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, those European matches. Now, because of in the last few months, they've all been sitting in their house, individual houses, and they are on their mobile and they're still having fun watching the game. So what is happening is that this is earlier. One of the things that all of us thought is that having a community fun is only when you physically get together. Now, what is new thing that has come out is that you can have community fun, but using digital means sitting where you are. I think that is something which has actually come out as a new concept, and that I would believe is going to be a big transformation in the way people are going to leverage the digital way of reaching out to customers.
Yeah, I think that's really great. I think that works well. One last question before I go to the audience questions. The one last question now is looking forward. I think we've had a lot of these answers already, but I'll just like you guys to encapsulate in a minute or so. How do you feel the post-COVID world is going to look like, or the new normal is going to look like from a marketer's perspective? And what is it that you would like to see from as a brand or a marketer or platforms, whatever is your ask in a post-COVID world?
So the way I look at it is that I think when you look at consumer is at the center, and consumer has really taught us in last couple of months. Obviously, I think it's always been relevant. I don't think it needs any pandemic to sort of teach us. But the thing is, you will have to change yourself or business idea or the way you engage with your customers, the way consumers are changing, right? I feel that obviously their expectation is that we need to serve them the way they want it, whether they want to come to the store, they want to be delivered the stuff at their home, or they want to book it online and come to the store. I think the choices will be theirs, and I think that's how one big transformation, at least in retail, we say that omni channel for the longest time was just a cool word, but finally it's come alive because of pandemic. That's one big change, and it's here to stay. There's no doubt about it. And I think all the retailers, all businesses need to accept this change and move forward.
Uh, I will talk about B2C, and I'll also give something which I would also like to make a mention on the B2B part of it. Like I said, in B2C, clearly the examples that I gave, there has been a phenomenal increase in digital. It won't remain at the same level. I think there will be a slip back to more the traditional ways, in especially in the rural part of the market, but it will definitely be much higher than what it was a year back. That's one. From a B2C perspective, I see digital coming down, but staying much higher than what it used to be previously. I'll talk about the B2B part of it. I would segment B2B into two broad categories. One is the product B2B and the services B2B. Now, in the product B2B, again, I can segment the product B2B into where the market is, where the customer base is very limited and where the customer base is wide. Now, when I talk about the customer base which is limited, like us, for example, when I talked about my soda ash business, where the customers are limited, we traditionally did not use too much of digital means because there were very few customers where we have started using a bit of digital. Now, what has happened is that the product B2B product where there are huge number of customers, like for example the engineering industry, people who supply pumps, people who supply various equipments, for example. Earlier, they used to make you a lot of brochures, stuff like that, and send it to various purchase managers, talking to them about their product. Now, what has happened is the COVID has actually taught them, saying that they've moved completely to digital means. Now, they are having webinars, they are having quite a lot of e-brochures. So I see that the the large range of you know the product segment which has large number of customers, they have started leveraging digital pretty well. If I come to the service segment, and I have seen that because when I was in the IT, I was like a customer. Now earlier all of us knew that all the IT companies used to hold very large conferences multiple times a year, and this time the COVID, they've been holding completely huge number of webinars and stuff like that using digital means. So there where I would say that the service segment, the B2B service segment, has kind of shifted and seen the benefit of digital, and there again, digital will play a very very big role. So in conclusion, what I would like to say is that whether it is B2B or it's B2C, the transition to digital has happened. It may slip back from what it was during COVID, but it will be far higher than what it was pre-COVID.
Thank you, both of you all. Thanks for summing up that beautifully. I'll just take 1 minute and then we'll go to questions. I think we have only 3 minutes on the clock. So I think in summation, what we are saying is that this last 5 months have been really transformational for all marketers. We're all grappling with what was happening, and now I think we're doing a great job of actually getting there. And now I think the post-COVID world is going to look like somewhere in between what it was as a norm and what we have got to right now. But there are some things that are going to forever change. As Pawan pointed out, I mean, yes, it was like, digital is coming, digital is coming. We used to hear it for 10 years. Now, O2O and when we're talking about all that stuff, that is something online to offline, and all that was again being spoken about so much, but we didn't see fruitful changes. But suddenly that's really started working. So we needed this little bit of a jolt out of the blue. I think it's very important for us to keep on giving ourselves that jolt rather than waiting for these jolt. I think customers are already much smarter than us and they're ahead of them. We need to start being with them and trying to be with them. So I think one of the things that COVID has taught us is that let's start being a little more, the speed needs to improve of how we are reacting. I think that's something that the revolutions that have been brought, whether it's the geo revolution and now the COVID revolution, as I would call it, I think it's really the one thing that we've understood from this is that we need to be much quicker in responding to what the customer needs are, and maybe sometimes even identifying something and being a little ahead of it. So I think that's kind of leaving it there, and we have time for 2 questions. I'll ask one question and wait for the others because there are a few questions that are coming up, and then the teams are messaging me the questions because I'm not seeing it on this. So there's one question in terms of saying, and it's a very unique question because it's so specific, but I'll anyways ask it. Is that while we speak about going digital, so this is from Ridhima. Do you think brands should start focusing on innovative ways of enhancing customer experience digitally? Sonic branding is booming with brands like Mastercard using it across all customer points. So it's a very, very specific question on Sonic branding. Do you think it's important for brands to consider their Sonic identity to engage with the consumers and enhance their digital experience? I'm going to use the question as an example because it's so specific in terms of saying, you need to develop a Sonic identity. Basically, you need an audio. You need hearing, and you need audio as a Sonic identity for your brands because you can't step out and how are you creating a Sonic identity. I'll just expand that because it's so specific to say that innovation has always been the key of digital. But going forward, do you feel that that's going to be a very important part of it? This was a question. I'm just expanding onto that. So anyone from the panel wants to take it?
Yeah, I would think that technology is going to change. See, one of the big things along with Sonic, where I believe there is going to be a big impact is the whole concept of AR and VR. Artificial, people are going to be, people want experience. So the way I would think is that people would be, the marketeers would need to create something which, you can actually wear it on your eyes like a goggle and then see in a virtual reality how things are happening. I think there, what would effectively happen is that along with getting to know about it, one can also experience about it. So I'm surely looking forward that there is going to be a lot of VR and AR that will impact the marketing communication and the story that companies will have to put it forward.
Yeah, I agree, and especially from a B2B perspective, I think I was wanted to add that augmented reality is actually taking place, taking
Yeah.
the place of actually going and physically showcasing, how a plant works, how safety measures in a plant are working, how to go about, giving any kind of instructional videos. I think AR is playing a massive role in terms of just cutting that out in terms of walking into and physically going there and doing stuff. So I think, yeah, I mean, that's something that is really key in terms of that.
So I just want to add here, I don't know about the Sonic thing in particular because it'll depend from business to business, right? I
Yeah.
mean, but I think the way to innovate, I think it's always been a requirement and it's going to be a requirement. So I can tell you some of our fashion business, for example, and wherever there was a lockdown, right? It was so difficult to sort of sell because obviously there's a lockdown and I don't call it like innovation, but I think it's just a simple human logic. We reached out to our customer and we were doing shop WhatsApp video selling to them, right? Because we were showing it to them, what they can possibly buy. They were selecting it on the phone, and then we were delivering it to them. So I'm just saying innovation is part and parcel. So obviously a experience like this, if one is able to put it in a far more customer friendly way, I see there's a scope which can become a part and parcel of an entire retail ecosystem tomorrow, and I'm sure lots of brands would work towards it.
So the last question, because we are out of time on this. So the last question is that things are changing all the time, but there seems to be a growing consensus that we can't just flick a switch and return to things as they were. Do you think it's just going to be easy as just stepping out tomorrow and saying, okay, things are back to normal? And we've taken this question in a way earlier, but I'll just take this up. So is it as going to be as saying that, okay, we're all out, COVID is out, let's just go back to our offices and marketing is back to what it was in the pre-COVID? Is it going to be as easy as that?
Looks like a good at least a dream to have. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it's a very tough question to sort of answer and say that things will go back to normal. I particularly don't think so, because I think you know I think there's a huge amount of changes which has happened as consumer, as emotions. I think there's a lot which has gone through and we are going through. It's not that it's something which is out. So I think just going back to the earlier era of pre-COVID, I think there's a lot of time. I particularly don't think so.
Yeah, I also agree with that. That consumers have changed what they are, the way they want the messaging, and having got gone into the new way of leveraging digital. I don't think consumers are going to go back to the older ways of getting message from a brand so easily. So I think there is going to be a lot more stickiness, that digital is here to stay. And going back to old times, I don't see it happening so fast.
Okay. Thank you both. Thank you, Exchange for Media, for having us on Tech Munch. I think we are now just about running out of time. We're already 5 minutes over, but we started late. So thank you. And I think it was an engaging conversation. We were supposed to have a few more panelists, but I think we've made it work. And thank you for having us here. And I really feel that I do agree that the new normal, it's going to be a new normal. It's never, I don't think we are ever going to go back to from a marketing perspective, from a business perspective. Yes, from a from our life's perspective, we'll be back to normal. But from
Yeah.
a marketing perspective, from a digital perspective, we're never going to go back to that normal that it was. So thank you for having us, and yeah, so that's about it from us.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank
you.
you so much.
Thanks, Shams. Thanks,
Thank
Pawan.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Mr. Sarda, Mr. Ranganathan, and Mr. Jasani for that wonderful conversation. A lot of takeaways for all our audience members. And thank you for addressing so many questions of theirs. We're also steering this conversation online on Twitter using our hashtag TechMunch. If you guys have any time, then please go ahead and give us your feedback as well and see what the audience viewers are also talking about. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being here and taking out the time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are moving on to our next keynote address. She is an electrical engineer from Jadavpur University and MBA from IIM Calcutta. She started her career as a management trainee in Hindustan Lever Limited. Subsequently, she joined Titan, where she worked on several roles in marketing, both international and domestic. The next stint was at Talisma Corp as a director, product marketing. She moved on to become business head at Lee in Arvind Brands Limited. She is now the CEO of the Watches and Wearables division of Titan Company Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, she will be talking to us on the topic of the new frontier of brand strategy and digital engagement. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome Suparna Mitra. A very warm welcome to you.
Hi, lovely to
Hello.
be here.
Lovely to have you, Suparna. I'm going to leave the screen to you for your conversation.
Great. Thank you for having me, Exchange for Media. This is a very interesting format, and I was wondering how relevant really and how apt it is that we are having this completely virtual conference with all speakers and all participants participating virtually, and it is on digital marketing. So I'm going to share some thoughts, and obviously everything is about post-COVID. I don't think there is anything else on anybody else's mind right now. And I'm going to actually use this opportunity to talk about some of the things that we've done in Titan, in the watches division, on brand strategy and using digital. And that is the whole thing about how are we going to look at brand strategy through digital media. So just give me a minute. I will share my screen. Yeah. So let's start from around the middle of March. What happened? We had a sudden lockdown, and practically all consumption except essentials came to a grinding halt. So we are in a category which is very discretionary, totally non-essential in some ways. We are a category that is about self-expression, about status, about emotion, about very higher order kind of needs, and not about essentials at all. So in many ways, we are non-essential, but in many ways, we are also a category which makes people feel good. So the journey of what we did from mid-March to now, the first phase was actually the lockdown phase. And the big brand challenge was, how does a category like ours, totally discretionary, remain relevant and salient in an essentials-only market? So what was the strategic intent? How to keep the brand alive in the consumers' minds during lockdown? And the situation was such that while consumers were not actually consuming anything other than essentials, they had a lot of time and they were constantly on digital media. Consumers were working online, shopping online, entertaining themselves online, kids were learning online. So the entire gamut of human activity was online. And especially in the early days, there was a lot of consumption on COVID-related news. So in a way, the opportunity to engage digitally with the customer was very high. But the question was, what do you now tell them? It would be totally daft to tell them then that go out and buy watches, because all the stores were shut and there was no reason at all for anybody to buy watches. So what did we do? We felt that this was a great time to build relationships and to cherish and nurture relationships between the brand and the consumer that have been there for a while. And this was a good time to stop and really work on those relationships. So how did we do it? We did it by subtly placing the brand in emotional and gifting moments with audiences on social media. So what were the constraints? One was that there was, we couldn't shoot anything, and all of it had to be generated by people who were, or everyone was locked down. So all of all of the content had to be generated at home, and that was a constraint. But what was the opportunity? The opportunity was completely in the space of what do we mean as a brand to consumers. So we realized that we are a very big category for gifting, for birthdays and anniversaries. And what we saw was that people were locked down. They were not able to celebrate. They were not able to reach out to friends and family. And we actually gave them a lot of avenues for expression on their birthdays. So these milestones, which people missed, were a way of connecting back to the consumers and presenting the brand in a subtle way, not in a way of in any kind of commercial sense, but just from an emotional sense. So, apart from birthdays and anniversaries, what else happened during that time? We had a few interesting occasions which lent themselves to this kind of communication. One was Mother's Day. And what we did, and I'm going to just play this for you, is how do we create content that actually allows people to express themselves. So this is a huge time for self-expression. It was also a huge time for rediscovering how special our close, our loved ones are. I think lockdown, one really paid attention to close family members, and mothers are mothers, always special. So let me play this for you. What else did we do during the lockdown phase? Another interesting avenue for brand engagement was how do we imbue the brand values of positivity and optimism in the consumer's life in these peculiar circumstances by using brand assets. In the earlier panel discussion, there was a question on sonic branding, and we are blessed in Titan to have one of the most distinctive and very, very signature sonic brand asset, and which is now called the Titan Tune, which we have in the lockdown period used it to, like I said, subtly place brand values in the consumers, in the context of the consumers' lives. So another piece of communication which went out and got huge amount of social engagement, social media engagement during this was a Mother's Day piece which was using the Titan tune. And a lot of leading musicians from the country came together virtually for a concert. And it was something that created magic and actually opened up many new ways of connecting with consumers. So here we go. There was another occasion where we used the Titan tune, and this was on April 14th when the entire nation was waiting for the Prime Minister's address because 3 weeks of lockdown were already over. And at 10 a.m., the Prime Minister actually extended the lockdown. And by 2 p.m., we had put out this piece of communication called Time Together. Let me play it, and then I will talk about what kind of reaction and engagement we had got at that time. So this one went viral. It got the highest organic views for the year, and it was just, people just spread it, they just forwarded it, or lots and lots of people. I think there was a certain topicality, that the timing was everything. This post after 2 days wouldn't have possibly held as much meaning. The fact that at that point, there was a whole nation saying, now what? 3 weeks have passed, and at that point when the news came that it had got extended, the reassurance from this lovely piece of communication is this too shall pass, and give it time, was something that really worked. We even got picked up and it got talked about by Shobha De in her Mumbai Mirror column, where she talked about this commercial for Titan, which is an appropriate word in place of numerals on a watch, precisely 12 words that say it all. Just like these numbers, we too can be apart, yet be together. And the baseline, this too shall pass, give it time. And she calls it splendid. So this was another usage of the tune. Very simple, creative. I mean, you would think about it, there's nothing except that the power of the idea. But it really struck a chord. And the last one, which is actually using our brand asset to deepen consumer engagement and affection for this beloved brand, was centered around all the little activities that people were doing during the lockdown. I think, certainly for me, the lockdown was a period of self-discovery, because it kind of forced us to stop and think and pause and reflect, and also reignite a lot of things that had kind of faded away in our lives. And we found a lot of people were doing a lot of new things together after a while. And we felt that this was a time where we all loved a little, laughed a little, and lived a little, and made it count, made every moment count.
This is the time to learn something, to forget something, to plant and grow, to return to an old love. This is the time to feed your mind and to feed the world, to stand still and to dance, to grow up, to become a child, to connect and disconnect. This is the time to do nothing and to do everything.
What a lovely smile from that child. It really made every moment count. So we now move on to the opening up phase. This was late May, June, and though cases were going up every day and more lockdowns were being imposed, and the whole thing had become, certain cities, certain geographies were having their own lockdowns. And one of the big things was the fear of personal safety to go out and shop. And the question in the back of people's minds is, okay, if I don't have a choice, I will go out and buy essentials. But why would I go out right now and buy a discretionary category? So The big barrier that we wanted to address at this point was the fear and to assure people of our safety standards. And during the lockdown in the month of April itself, we had worked out very comprehensive safety procedures for our offices, for our factories, for our stores. And a lot of work had gone into training our store staff also to make sure that they understand what this is about. And this was the time when we felt that this was a need of the hour. And all of the engagement that happened at this point was addressing this. So we did have a lot of new ways of communicating with customers and little innovations that actually help them overcome the fear. So things like video calling, video shopping, or browse online and then just pick up the watch in store, so you don't have to spend a lot of time in the store when you're browsing. And now I will play a short video that had gone out to all our loyalty club. We have a very large customer loyalty program called Encircle, and we had sent this out to millions of customers to assure them that we had done everything we could to ensure the highest standards of safety.
Hi, I'm Suparna Mitra, CEO of Titan's Watches and Wearables Division. At Titan, the safety of our customers, employees, and the community is the priority. We have curated a contactless shopping experience from start to finish. We have sanitized products and have trained our employees to adhere to social distancing norms and to use masks and gloves. We have left no stone unturned to ensure your safety while you shop with your perfect accessory. Welcome back to your favorite store. Hi.
So that was on assuring customers of safety protocol. And then from, I would say, middle of June and end of June, we really started working on demand generation, because finally the context is such that the audience's sentiment is, I'm at home. I'm doing everything at home. I don't want to be going out. Do I really need the lifestyle and fashion categories? You know, for most of us, we were only really paying attention, I would say, shoulder up, because that's all that is visible on a screen when we're working from home. And a watch and a wrist is very far down, and it doesn't even come to watches are things that you actually wear a lot to impress other people, especially in work situations. So how does one address this challenge? And we found that we had to go back into our kind of treasure trove of meaning for the brand to find out a new trigger and push it up front. Actually, this new trigger is an old trigger. It's something that has been there associated with the brand from the 90s, but was not something that we deployed very actively in the recent times. But COVID told us that one of the things that is really important to people right now is connecting to loved ones, and gifting is one way of communicating our love. So we established that if I have to get the right trigger, one of the big triggers is an emotional appeal for gifting. And this was something that we built onto the brand, and we called this whole campaign idea Gift a Titan Smile. And the idea is that you could be gifting a Titan smile. The moment you gift a Titan, the other person will smile. So you could be gifting a Titan smile to people, your loved ones who are in the same household as you, You could also be gifting it to your loved ones who are in some other city, and right now you can't even think of, traveling. And also a lot of missed milestones, birthdays, anniversaries, a lot of jobs, lots of things have happened in the last 4.5, 5 months, and we haven't really, said thank you to people that we need to say the thank you to. So here is one piece of communication where we built gifting among family members.
क्या हुआ?
I just wanted to thank these hands. दिन भर सबके लिए कितना कुछ करते हैं.
ऐसे खा लिया थैंक्स.
You know me so well, right?
So many reasons to give someone a smile. Pick yours. Titan.
So this is how we kind of took it across different relationships, reasons to gift your wife for the countless cups of coffee before every meeting, many reasons to gift your dad for all those dad jokes that kind of made the lockdown a little more bearable. Reasons to gift your husband for being your BFF. I think we realized many dimensions to our intimate relationships. And I think the most important one was self-gifting. Gift yourself for picking up the paintbrush again. And this could be one of the many reasons to gift yourself a Titan. Another lever, another trigger for this category is desire. And desire had to be brought back into the forefront before the audiences just got habituated to learn to live with less. And desire is always about the lure of the product. It's always about how differentiated, how unique, how drool-worthy the product is. And we actually had one such product that had been awaiting launch since actually March, April, and we launched it in August. And this is actually a smartwatch from Titan. It's called the Titan Connected X, and it's a flagship full-touch smartwatch from Titan, and has done amazingly well. It's priced at $11,995. It's a great price for a smartwatch, but we weren't very sure how it would do because of the situation. What we found is that it did really, really well. And I'd just like to play this little video that talks about the features of this watch.
Presenting the new Titan Connected X.
And these are the triggers which we were trying to put together at a category level. Now I want to talk a little bit about what we see is happening overall for brands and retailers, which is the demand has got so substantially reduced. And yet we haven't really realized what this really means. We had thought of this idea sometime in June, July, and finally we kind of launched this initiative in August. It is not a campaign. It is probably an initiative. In its best avatar, it is a movement. It is about actually how do we get India ticking again. And India will start ticking again only when each of us who have the ability and the wherewithal to do those small purchases, small and big, go back and start life all over again. What we don't realize is that the wheel of the economy is so inextricably linked. Every cog is enmeshed with the other. that our little actions of not consuming things that we used to is leading to huge losses of livelihoods, unprecedented and unimaginable unemployment. And no matter what we are expecting from the government and the RBI, etc., I think it's every citizen's responsibility, whoever has the wherewithal to start consuming again. So this movement, which is called Let's Get India Ticking, it's a category agnostic campaign. It is not about watches or Titan, though it does have the signature Titan tune, but it is about uh, giving a subtle nudge to consumers all over that consumption is actually, in some ways, better than charity. Because when you consume, it leads to further production, and that leads to further employment, and then that leads to further consumption. And this is a piece of work that we are very, very proud of. We are also very passionate about. It's at that stage where I'm personally writing to CEOs of many companies and leaders and many brands, uh, requesting them to take the pledge. And so far, we've had 55 brands taking this pledge, and that's amazing because um, brands coming out and saying, I will support you is just so amazing because somewhere we have opened our minds to saying, I don't need to be all possessive about my brand and my category, and we're all in this together. And together we have to get India ticking.
This sound is the heartbeat of our nation. Every time we buy something, we get India ticking. Let's get India ticking. To join the initiative, log on to the website.
I would request all the viewers, if you want to participate in this, you want your company, your brand, and we've got brands across food, retail, accessories, apparel, power, FMCG. It's just amazing. It's been an outpouring of support, and everybody sees what this is about. And we have a target ambition of 200 brands who will partner, and hopefully there will be enough decibel levels created by this that a lot of people who've been holding back on that tiny purchase, on buying the flowers, sending their clothes to the man who irons the clothes, uh, buying the fruits and vegetables, at the local level. Uh, all of these people, you saw the chai wala and the jalebi wala and the raddi wala. This is really an appeal from all of us to let's all get into it and let's get India ticking. So this is really what I had in terms of how do you really engage consumers with your brand through digital engagement in these times. Thanks a ton for your patient listening, and I'm open to questions. I'm actually going to come out of this presentation and then we can talk about it.
Thank you, Suparna. That was a wonderful presentation. An outpour of questions coming in for this. So I'd like to quickly mention a few of those questions to you. This is a three-part question. So let me start by just asking you, seeing the success of these wonderful music campaigns, do you think it is important for brands to consider their sonic identity to engage with the consumers and enhance their digital experience?
Obviously, the answer is yes. And but my simple point is that this sonic identity has not been built now. It was
Yeah.
built 2 3 years back, and we are only building on the tops of, we are on the shoulders of the giants who've come before us. So
Yeah.
both on the brand side and the agency side, people have done so much work, and it is a very precious asset. We take it very seriously. We are constantly innovating and building on it. And it was during this time that you realized what the power of that asset was, because it was just instantaneous magic in terms of engaging with consumers.
Yeah. So the question following up to that is that should the focus now be on how a brand is being heard over the visual identity?
I think both. I think it's about an audio visual signature. And if you saw a lot of the pieces of communication that I showed, there are some key commonalities. There's always a certain rootedness, there is a warmth, there is a certain class, but it's
Yeah.
not some very status oriented. There is a certain authenticity. It's always emotional, and the product is lovely. So it all comes together well. So
Yeah.
this identity is an audio visual identity. Yes,
Yeah.
there is a separate audio identity, the sonic identity, which is very strong, but it is an overall package that if one did not put the name at all of the brand, I think 60-70% of consumers would know that it is Titan.
Right. So another part to the question is, would the brand focus on having music at retail outlets aligned with the brand identity?
So we have playlists for our retail stores. Obviously, it needs to be in the background because people are shopping. It can't be very in your face. And we try and mix it up in terms of genres. It's not that we play only Mozart. I don't think that'll work. I think it's something that, and also different stores, we have World of Titan stores where we play a certain kind of music. We have fast track stores where we play a different kind of music. So it really depends on what the need for that music, what role does that music play in the retail store is different from the role that music plays if it is uh, a piece of brand communication.
Right. Another question we've got is that I think this is a question that all of us suffer from. Like, I am not a person who can go online and shop. I need the touch and feel. So this is a very relevant question on that topic, which says, can digital engagement replace the touch and feel factor?
So, what we are discovering is that there are new hybrid modes which are working very well.
Yeah.
So, we're doing, obviously, earlier there was a customer who was perfectly comfortable buying online. That person continues to be perfectly comfortable buying online. But there are, like you said, a lot of customers who would do the search and the buying offline. You go to a store, in fact, you go to lots of stores, you check out, sometimes buying a nice watch for a birthday or something, you go this weekend also, you go next weekend also, then you do a little search online. Now what we are seeing is that we are trying to aid the customer to do the search process online, because that's what people are really keen on. So whether we have live chat on our website, or we do appointment booking, or we do video assisted shopping. So the customer actually calls in, and the store staff engage with the customer on video and show them that this watch will look like this. So as opposed to, because the customer doesn't want to necessarily touch a lot of watches. And apart from that, the safety things that we anyway talked about, now we are doing UV sanitization of watches. Once one customer has tried it on, we UV sanitize it before putting it out. So it is a very interesting hybrid that is coming up, and that's actually something that I think will stay, because yes, at some point, some vaccine will come, we will all go back. But some things become habits and then you find them convenient. So why do you want to go back?
Right, right. And if things are getting better, then why not? I think people will save up on
Absolutely.
a lot of shopping time also by doing this
Yeah,
online. Yeah.
absolutely.
So with that, Suparna, thank you so much. There are many questions coming in, but with the paucity of time, I have to thank you here. But do join us on our online conversation using the hashtag TechMunch. This is for all our viewers also. Please send in your questions using the hashtag if Suparna can come online and answer some of those there as well. Thank you so much for your time and this wonderful, insightful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kathy, and thanks to Exchange for Media. It was wonderful to be in e-Techmanch. Thanks. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much again. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now moving to the last but not the least keynote address. Here is an experienced and passionate leader who brings over 30 years of experience helping clients across a wide range of categories, building brands, and unlocking growth. His expertise lies in the conversions of media, technology, and creativity, equipping clients to navigate change, disruption, and transformation and engage their key consumers. A true global citizen, John has worked across international markets and brings a nuanced understanding of different cultures and the unique challenges and opportunities facing established and emerging markets. A true business partner, he has dedicated his career to solving challenges on behalf of the world's leading marketeers and new establishment brands. He is the global brand president for Starcom Worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming John Sheehy, who will talk us through delivering, who will actually talk us on the topic here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope all of you are ready. Please put your hands together. He'll be talking on the great opportunity leveraging human resources, experiences, and reinvention in COVID rationary times. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Mr. John Sheehy. Warm welcome to you.
Hey everybody, it's great. It's great to be able to join you. Who would have thought 6 months ago we'd be doing this? So thank you, Exchange for Media. It shows that you are adapting and changing your model quickly, and this is just a great opportunity. I also want to thank Suparna, who reminded me during her presentation that I have an upcoming anniversary, so we should all support Titan and make sure we do our bit to take care of the ones that make us look good. So really excited to be here. The goal for me today is really personally to take out the learning and insights that are coming out through these presentations, but reality is turning those into business building initiatives. So as I put together my share piece today, I wanted to make sure that there is some clarity in terms of things that we can think about, but importantly, things that we can do. And I'm going to jump into that in 1 second here. So let me pull up and share my screen. Oops, technical difficulty, believe it or not. Here we go. Okay, can everybody see that screen? I'm going to ask that we put on the PowerPoint. If you can go ahead and do that for me. Just give me a heads up when we're able to do that. Well, why don't we, if you guys can pull up that screen. Let me get started. So everybody, John Shee, I am the Global Starcom President. What I'm going to do today is, only 6 months ago I was in India. And as I mentioned, everything's changed since then. I remember taking a flight back in February. And by the time I was able to land, get acclimated, the US had gone into a shutdown. And ultimately, we saw that come out across the world. If you can go to the next page. Sorry, guys, technical difficulty. But anyways, as a human experience company, one of the things that we're most focused on is answering the question of what should we do next by looking at the consumer. And we do that by looking at what we call desire lines. Desire lines for us is what we come to recognize as consumers being messy, unpredictable, doing things and saying things that, if you can go to the next page. And desire lines are what we do in terms of, if you go to page 2. Believe it or not, we rehearse this, folks. Desire lines are what we do is we try and uncover across category and brands what people are actually doing. And we call desire lines in urban planning. They often plan out a park to go down straight past, but we often see our consumers take their own path. And we call these desire lines. And what we're doing across Starcom for all our categories, across all our markets and our brands, are taking a close look at the consumer and looking at where their desire lines are shifting and what behaviors are taking place and what we have to do in order to combat those. So in terms of the focus today, I'm going to talk about desire lines and then the 3 things that we're doing to make sure that we're looking and following the consumer as we look to make sure that we are delivering. As you can see on the screen now, that's what I'm referring to as desire lines. And we see those across different categories and different brands. If you go to the next page. So I'm going to go off screen, guys. So really what I want to talk to you about is, I think today is probably, we could call it 2020 as the year of the greatest disruption. And that's certainly taken and impacted. We've all gone through phase 1 in COVID, where we are both adjusting and getting fit for purpose, whether it's media and messaging. We've gone through a phase 2 of COVID, where we're responding. As we saw in the Titan presentation, we're reacting to the changes of consumer habits, behaviors, rituals. And importantly, we're seeing a third phase of this, which I think is probably the most important one, and that's the recessionary pressure we're all going to get into. Back in 08 and 09, when we saw the recessionary pressure, government spent over $1 trillion to help put the spend back in the economies, to get things turned out in the right way. Now we're seeing already $10 trillion spent in terms of trying to combat the disruption that's taking place. And that's going to have a big knock-on effect. So part of what I'm going to share today isn't just about COVID, but it's really about the future in terms of what we should experience and how we're going to win and create the new business models to deal with not just COVID, but the recessionary forces that are upon us already. And so with that, I think we're going to pivot from the greatest disruption that we're likely to see in all our careers to certainly the greatest opportunities of 2021 and beyond. And so I'm going to leave you with three things today, three things that we are doing, that we're working with clients to do in all markets, across all categories, and across all brands. If you can go to the next slide. The first thing that we're doing is we are leaning into a fast learning culture. And that's a critical aspect that I think everyone has talked about today. And I'm going to share some thoughts on how we're doing that. Next slide, please. The second thing that we're doing is leaning into digital speed. And we're going to talk about what fuels digital speed. And I would argue that two of the critical things that we're seeing and applying is both data and technology to move faster in a more agile way, in a more transformative way. And I'm going to talk about what we're doing to help with digital speed. And the last area that I'm going to focus on is really how do we, the reinvention mindset. How are you going to go from a world that is temporarily closed to an opportunity that is right ahead of us? So learn fast culture, digital speed, and ready to invent. So let's talk about the learn fast culture first. If we can go to the next slide, sorry for all the delays. What do I mean by a learn fast culture? First of all, and it's been highlighted today, we are seeing unprecedented changes in consumer behavior, habits, and rituals that are taking place now and will continue to take place. How many people here have a child in school, or over the last 5 months, you've had to manage a career, turn a bedroom into a school situation, manage learning online, and that's starting again as we get deeper into this. Who's had to, whether it's for your family or for yourself, take on board medicine, whether that's virtually seeing a doctor or trying to get self-help by doing different learnings. Same thing goes for media consumption, the amount of streaming, OTT. We've seen it in the shopping space with commerce. Who knows? There wasn't even a word for what's happened now with contactless delivery. And we're seeing unprecedented shifts in every category, in every market across all these brands. And so those that are going to win are going to be able to change their business so they can sense and respond in real time. And unpacking this and really staying close to these desire lines that are shifting is what's going to make the difference to be able to deliver the experiences that brands need and deliver both the business outcome and the human outcomes we're looking for. So the three things I'm going to share with you are what we're doing with clients. These are not my phrases. These are the actions that we've codified and we're finding tremendous success in that are going to do us well in this current environment and certainly moving ahead to what is going to be a tough economic environment. So learn fast culture. If we go to the next slide, if you could skip 2 ahead, I've talked about, and people have talked with you today about the shopping behaviors, the behaviors that are shifting everywhere. So what are we going to do about it? There's 2 things that I would focus on. The first, and thing number 1, is what we are calling the ability to look at insights in real time. We went back to the last recession, and there was a good question asked in the last recession, which was, who's going to lead us out of this recession? Fast forward 10 years to 2020, as we were experiencing great economic growth before this, and we would say that the millennials had changed every category, had embraced technology to create new paths, new desire lines, and that the brands that were winning were those that could adjust the quickest. The brands that were losing often were those that were well established. They were being challenged in new ways. It took them longer to adapt. But what we're finding now is that the opportunity, it's a new playing field. And so what we're doing is for our clients, whether it's a weekly cadence, a bi-weekly cadence, or a monthly cadence, we're looking at through data, through learning, and framing up in what we call 5 and 30. 5 insights in 30 minutes, sharing with key stakeholders, with our clients. And those insights that are coming through are coming at the category level, at the culture level, at the competitive level, at the learning level that's going on across categories. And so that's setting the frame, as you saw with Titan, about the adjustments that are being made. But that's just the thinking, that's just the insight part. The most important part of the 5 and 30 process is the separate session, which is where we turn those insights into action. And so in 5 and 30 minutes, we're getting together with our senior clients, and we're talking about how can we pivot from the insights into actions, whether that's standing up a direct-to-commerce capability in 2 weeks, whether that's looking at doing a new creative campaign in concert with other agency partners, client partners, whether that's looking at product innovation, bigger pack sizes as people focus on core, or different ways to engage people, as I talked about the streaming. So this 5 and 30 concept I'd share with you so that you can steal with pride. Works, take my word for it, go out and do it. But it's really a coalition that's bringing clients, agency partners, business partners together to go from thinking to doing in rapid succession. I think every business model that was created prior to COVID can be torn up and reimagined. And I think at the heart of that has to be some way to have speed and insight to action. So that's how we learn fast culture at Starcom and how we do that with our clients. It's simple, it's effective, it's energizing, it promotes better decision-making, faster decision-making. That's 5 and 30. Let's go to the second area. As I mentioned, importantly, during this time of change, we need to enact digital speed. And as I suggested, there's 2 ways to drive digital speed. The first way, as the next chart will suggest, is by underpinning and leveraging data in more significant ways. And by this, data has a maturity index across all different markets. We know that. We know that clients within clients. But more and more, the greatest advantage that we have is being able to leverage data. For us, that's why we acquired Epsilon over a year ago, so that we could, in addition to the walled gardens, in addition to our clients' data, in addition to retail data, we had a way to look at the consumer and audiences with more precision, against more variables, looking at behavior, looking at attitudes in a more definitive, high definition way. And that's what I call identity. So the first part about data, if we want to move fast, is looking at our audiences. For example, one CPG manufacturer, we've been able to identify the number of households that have come into the category. We've broken down those households, both in terms of penetration and frequency. And we've identified what's driving the growth. Ironically, in a category that's so old, in this one, it's actually boomers who are driving the growth. Sure, households, so kids, which is important for this, is important, but we're also seeing sub-cohorts that are also driving that. And with greater precision and audience understanding, we now know who we're going after, better insights. The second thing with data is we have the ability to design these experiences with greater fidelity and greater nuance and greater scale. And again, data allows us to do that across whether it's traditional and digital, all the way through, which we know now is commerce, which has become a very critical part about delivering on that consumer desire line. And lastly, and the great thing now is that we can launch and learn. We don't have to, I think as some people say, crawl, walk, and run. We are now able to measure with more agility and more fast-paced twitch muscles, as I call it, to be able to not only optimize media, but also messaging. It's a promise that we have to embrace. And over the last 6 months, we've seen the acceleration in this space exponential, despite challenges of privacy and everything else. And we know in a world of uncertainty that if you want to go fast, underpin it with better data and use that data to greater effort. Nextly, digital speed is also, I think, fueled by tech. And while the last example was talking about how we're building brands and categories, I'm going to share within the Publicis Group what we've done to accelerate our tech platform to democratize our thinking and our agility on behalf of our clients. That's our global platform called Marcel. Marcel is connected on the onset of COVID to about 5,000 people, is now connected to over 60,000 people within Publicis, soon to be connected to 80,000 people. And by connected, I don't mean that we just are all on the same platform. We're connected in terms of being able to take briefs across markets, leverage expertise in a more scaled way to deliver business solutions for our clients and even our agency. In fact, in India, the creative team from Leo Burnett used a Marcel gig, as we call it, to go ahead and provide an idea that was later delivered across Europe. Again, using technology to go faster and find different ways to find value through people and through engagement in people and greater connectivity has been a tremendous unlock for us, something that we would still be doing now at a slow pace, but now we've unlocked it quickly, and we're unlocking the benefits for our clients and our people at the pace at which we now find to be that new digital speed. So again, first thing, let's develop 5 and 30 thinking and doing. Secondly, let's make sure that's underpinned by data and technology to move fast. And then thirdly, and I want to spend a little bit of time here, I think it's been tremendous. You know, we see how Exchange for Media has put together this conference in a virtual world. Who would have thought? We've seen examples from all the clients now, but a lot of the language and a lot of the focus has been about COVID. And what I'd like to do as part of reimagining that business model is underpin that last one beyond COVID. And let's talk a little bit about recession readiness and what we're doing, again, across markets, across clients, across brands and categories. There's a tremendous amount of learning from the last recession, but we know that's not going to be the same for this one. There's underpinning principles that apply, but the audience, the technology, the spaces, the competition, culture, global, local economies, they've all changed. So what are we going to do to put ourselves in a greater position for 2021 and beyond? Because we know that the recession lasts longer than we anticipate, but in that is a tremendous opportunity for brands. So if we can go ahead to the next page, we've put together through learning and partnerships with an agency, with clients and some of the other industry leaders, a recession readiness scorecard that really looks across 3 variables: agility, disruption, and brand equity. Agility is how easy is it for your brand to pivot based on its current situation. I think Titan was a great example of looking at the emotional needs, not sticking to its old model, finding new moments that mattered, being able to use agile delivery to get the message out there, being able to deliver that in different ways. Not everyone can be that agile, but we have to have an honest assessment for all our clients and brands. And that's what the first space is all about. How agile, how ready are you in this space? Secondly, it's about disruption. How prone to disruption or how disrupted is your brand? Again, we might have been on the back foot with some of our clients and we might have been disrupting, but the environment today and the environment tomorrow with our scale and differences and ability to pivot would suggest that we can be the disruptors, and we're seeing that happen. We also know that other competition is going to come in, direct and indirect, and also try and do that. So the question is, on a scale, how disrupt or how vulnerable are you? And the last one is brand equity. Studies show that brands that go in strong come out stronger if they react first, if they react with decisive and big bets. So it's looking at your brand equity, strong, weak, indifferent, and really trying to make sure that we know our starting point, and from this moment forward, getting all three of these things aligned. So what we're doing is we've created a workshop on the following page that really drills down and spends some time, if nothing else, helping people think through what are the right questions to ask, how are we bringing together different parts of the organization in different ways. Examples of this would be how we've integrated e-commerce, shopper, right into the brand planning system. A lot of brands, a lot of clients are siloed. From an agency standpoint, how are we pulling together different parts of our group offering to making more dynamic teams? Is our proposition today strong enough for tomorrow? Have we planned for scenarios, taking into account what we expect to see shifts? Are we going to make the category penetration gains permanent? I wish I had $1 for every question, which is, what's going to stay and what's going to go? The answer is, in a world of uncertainty, there's going to be some bets we're going to have to place. How do we get smart about what those bets look like? And lastly, be fast. What does it take to be more real time with data analytics? Who do we have to bring together? What partnership ecosystems? So again, all technical difficulties aside, I'm going to sum up. Follow the consumer. We know they're unpredictable and messy. However, we have the capability to understand where their desire lines are going. And with that tension between what consumer wants and brand needs, better fill the void and do that better than our competition. Secondly, in order to succeed, we got to rip up the business model of the past and reinvent the new one. I would humbly suggest there's 3 things we need to do. Learn fast culture, understand what digital speed really is and get there before our competition does, make the big bets. And lastly, right now is the biggest opportunity we'll have in our careers. And disruption is always a catalyst for winners to do something different, for those that can pivot faster, first, best. And so get ready for the recession. Great quote to end this. As we charge towards the first global disease-driven recession of the modern era, the brands that survive will be those that reinvent their business models for this uncertain future. So my apologies for the technical difficulties up front. You think I practiced that 4 times, it would have happened. That said, some very fundamental things that we're putting in action now that are paying off already for ourselves as Starcom, the human experience company, and our clients, which are doing this on a global scale, market by market, category by category, brand by brand. Thank you for Exchange for Media for the opportunity to be inspired, to learn, and then also to take away and come up with business building initiatives. This is a great forum. It's start to my day, but then end of day one. So I'm here to take any questions you may have. Over to the audience.
Thank you, John. That was a wonderful presentation. And we do have some questions that have come in. And in fact, I'm just going to take few of them because of the paucity of time. But the question here says, you touched on a lot of new consumer behaviors. How much of those behaviors do you think are here to stay versus just indicative of our COVID moment?
Right. So, like I said, if I had $1 for that question, I'd be a rich man now in 6 months. So I do want to add before I answer questions, I did try and get that Sonic ID. So if you want to borrow that one, tequila, that's fine by me. The question's a great question. I think we're going to answer that category by category, brand by brand, and market by market. We are seeing consumer desire lines form, habits form. Some look like they're going to be around for a long time. The answer lies in using the best data we can to look at and then to monitor those. That's why we're going to week insights we learned last time in millennial generation, we weren't sharp enough in our insights. We weren't persistent in following the change. We didn't react fast enough. And that's why categories were disrupted, not by the big brands often, but by those brands that came up. And so the playing field's leveled now. And so what I would suggest is those that are looking at their category culture, competitive ideas from outside their world, and bringing those on and ongoing are going to be the ones that identify those sticky new habits, capitalize on the fleeting habits, and then ultimately create the new habits. And I don't care what category it is, that's the opportunity. So don't just think about it, get out there and do. We get stuck in doing things how we did them in the past. And as this is a digital tech conference, really it's about and world. I remember when I started 10 years ago in the media world, 90% of the money was going through traditional pipes. Only 5 years ago, we were at 30, 40%, and India was lower than that. And then if I look at where we're going now, we have data, we have dynamic content, and we have commerce. We have to put all those pieces together. It's not a binary world, it's an and world. So don't just see those things coming, react to it so that you can create, retain those users that have come in your category.
That's wonderful. I'm sure a lot of people have taken great insights from your presentation and with this answer. John, we have another question, which is about the topic that you touched upon, the digital speed. So it's a two-part question, which says, what are some of the mistakes that organizations make when trying to build digital speed? And what are some of the data and tech fundamentals that brands need to enable digital speed?
Right. Hopefully we're making a lot of mistakes because if we are, that means we're trying things and doing things. The biggest mistake is not being focused. Again, I think we have to define a new business roadmap. We got to put some big bets down. Those big bets should be directly related to your brand, to your category, to your capabilities. So I would say let's just be purposeful because we want to make mistakes. It's the only way in this world that we're going to get ahead. What are people doing to answer the second part is I think it goes to that mentality that they're bringing together different parts of their organization, different parts of their ecosystem to solve these new problems. We're seeing it in the advertising business, whether it's clients bringing things in-house. That's fine. We can be there as a consult to do that. We can be there as you start to grow and do that. We can see that we're being brought in to do data maturity indexes across all the markets, commerce maturity indexes across all the markets, digital maturity indexes. So what we're being asked for is help us understand our starting point, and then with your experience, add to our experience about what does the roadmap look like, again, market by market, whether it's a global or local agenda, category by category, brand by brand. So make mistakes, but make sure you're not only thinking hard, but you're doing.
Absolutely. So more doing than thinking. I think that's the mantra I take from your presentation, John. Thank you so much for sharing this space with us, sharing your time and insightful presentation with us. Thank you so very much.
Awesome. Guys, I'll leave you with the digital sonic ID if I can. Give me 1 second. I know you guys are going to go enjoy some tequila. Here we go. All right, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you, John. Thank you for keeping the presentation and the start and end of it so upbeat as well. Thank you once again.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our first day of TechManch Conference 2020. We will now see you all tomorrow. Don't forget to visit our website and log in there to enter and visit this TechManch Day 2 Conference 2020, which will be followed by Indian Digital Awards. And ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, we are also going live in our social media platforms as well. We are also keeping our conversation online active using our hashtag TechManch. So let's keep engaging and talking online as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Khyati Kawa, your host, signing off. I will see you all again. Take care, stay home, and stay safe.